Okay, welcome to Tampa City Council. We'll begin, if we may, with a, I'm sorry, thank you, CRA, thank you. Welcome to CRA. We begin with a moment of silence. Please stand if you're able to do so and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Miranda? Here. Maniscalco? Here. Hurtak? Here. Clendenin?
Here.
Carlson? Here. Vieira?
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you very much. Let's go through, Let's go through approval of the agenda. I know we have a number of items here. Councilwoman Hurtak, go ahead.
I move to continue items 5 and 6 to September 11th. Is that correct? 4, 5, and 6. Okay. I knew it was 3.
Yes, ma'am. We have a motion by Board Member Hurtak. We have a second by Board Member Carlson. Any discussion on that? I'm sorry, Clendenin. And Mr. McCray, do you have any comment on that, sir?
No, thank you to Board Member Hurtak for that. And there was a walk-on item related to the Tampa Museum of Art that we sent late yesterday afternoon.
No problems there.
Related to that for required approvals as
Yes, sir.
related to some work that they wanted to be.
Yes, sir. So all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
So we've had a lot of criticism in the community about the matrix and the process that's being used. We're trying to come up with the most objective process to evaluate applications. But since the matrix and that process is being delayed till September, we have one application today that's been in the pipeline for a year and has come before us before, but we have another one that's before us for the first time. And nothing against the project, but I think we ought to continue number 8 and any other applications until October so that we can apply the objective process. I think using the objective process will help us to get community buy-in on any kind of evaluation we do. In conversations with staff, there are a lot of questions. I sent out a memo last night with some of the questions that the problem with projects is being able to compare apples and apples, and there's a question about, is it first in, first out? Are we comparing over time? And it's just fair to everyone to take any new applications and put them in October so we'll be able to apply the new process.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Board Member Hurtak.
Thank you. The problem with that is that that's not what we do in normal development. We aren't going to stop new projects in the rest of the city while we redo the land development code. So I agree with you. We absolutely have to improve this. It's not going, we have tweaks that 1,000% I agree we need to make, but I don't think it's fair to the people who put in applications and followed the current rules to be punished to wait. I'm not comfortable with that.
And I'm only talking about number 8.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. They put their application in, they followed the rules, they did what they were supposed to do, and now we're saying, no, we're going to change the rules on you. And again, I agree with you. We absolutely have updating to do, I think that's normal, and I would actually be upset if we didn't have changes to make because it's a constant, and I don't even think that what we do in September or October is going to be enough. Like, we'll always have changes to make. But I just don't think it's fair to the people who followed the rules that we have to not hear their petition today.
May I?
Go ahead.
Yeah, one thing, I was talking to staff yesterday, and I won't remember the numbers exactly, but if we take 40%, we're saying we're taking 30% of affordable housing for each district. If we take 40, I think it's 6.7 million this year for affordable housing in East Tampa. And then we have about 7-point-something million rolled over from the past. So we put both those together, that's about 14 million. And so number 1 and number 8 together are about 14 million. So with the new criteria, we wouldn't have any money until a future year. I know that number 8 is over 2 or 3 years, but still it starts to it's such a big amount, it starts to block up the budget.
And I totally don't disagree with you, but I do believe it's fair to hear a petition that came to us in good faith.
And before, and Councilman Clendenin, but before we go, do we have, I assume that's a motion?
Yeah, we didn't have a second.
Okay, and I was gonna say, before, and Councilman Clendenin, you can speak no matter what, do we have a second on that? That's a dispositive issue.
I may, but I want to talk
Okay,
about
go
that
ahead.
here.
Go ahead,
as a
sir.
response. Because in principle, I agree with Councilman Carlson that, and it's part of what I brought up when these first guidelines were first created about the possibility that we got here the way we got here is something that I also want to make sure, because I heard Councilwoman Hurtak say rules. There are more guidelines than rules per se. And I think the way they were presented, because they, like on the mounts, they set up 2, so that's more of a guideline than as a rule. So I want to make sure we clarify that for people that are listening, that they understand that a lot of these things, you know, the council has ultimate say, the board has ultimate say on how these expenditures are decided based on guidelines. So, you know, I think that in all fairness to the applicants and to the taxpayers, that we should probably just take a pause, really digest what's happening with these funds and the guidelines, and look at because I think there's several projects that are coming, and it's difficult to just weigh each project in because they're first in, because there may be a project that's 3 or 4 in that may be more worthy of spending, that if we spend that money now, we're not going to be able to fund. So I think the prudent thing to do, and I get what you're saying, I agree with that too, that it's unfortunate, but I think where we are right now, it may be prudent to pause, get our heads about where the money is, what projects are in the pipeline, so we can make a really good decision further down the line.
Can I just respond to
Yes,
that?
ma'am, please.
And again, I'm going to disagree with you on that,
Right.
because we're going to lose the trust of the community. If this is something we really want to do, then we need to have a special session. We need to get it done this summer. Like, we cannot wait till October. So what I'm saying is, again, if we want to do that going forward, I still think that we owe it to the people who are in the pipeline and here today to hear what they have to say. And then if we don't want to wait until October and we want to fast track it and have a special session and do all this, but what particularly bothers me about this is we wouldn't do this for any other development in the rest of the city. We wouldn't say, stop, no development, excuse me, can go into the pipeline while we figure this land development code out. That's not reasonable or rational. And that's my argument is, yes, we need to fix these, and if you want to do it and add a special session and like really hit it hard, I'm 1,000% with you. But we can't just say, never mind, because then people in these CRAs, developers are not going to trust us. They're going to be like, oh, I can spend thousands and thousands of dollars. I can have gone to the community. And then when I come to council or when I come to the CRA board, they're just going to decide to change. I'm just concerned about that because we have a really good beginning here, and I think the community wants to see us do some changes, but we absolutely just can't turn on a dime. We wouldn't do that to developers in the rest of the city.
And before you all go, I want to ask Board Member Miranda or Maniscalco, do you all have anything to say?
Yes, I'm
And if I may, let's limit, just because
No, that's
we have
fine.
an agenda, to like 2 minutes, 1 minute,
my
1
middle
minute,
name is
and then,
limited.
yes, sir, go ahead.
Let me just say this. I agree with Councilmember Hurtak. When you have individuals that, for whatever reason, applied and they're in the system, how am I going to tell them, no, you can't. You got to wait now when your turn's coming up in 30 days. You got to wait 90 days or 1/4 of a year. That's what it is, 1/4 of a year. 90 days is 1/4 of a year, I think. So, and you want to change the rules? Yeah, change them, but make sure that everything's in line so when the people apply, they know that they're going under the new rules, not under the rules that we're talking about today. I think it'd be, my mind anyway, we lose some trust in that if we do that. But that's just me speaking to myself.
Thank you, sir, and whichever one of you all want to go first, 1 minute each, go ahead.
So again, I agree with, like I said, I'm not disagreeing on principle. I wouldn't actually be opposed to adding meetings. You know, I never am. I think sometimes we probably should be doing that as a service to the city of Tampa. But my problem is I just don't feel at this moment with the information we have out there, it almost forces me a no vote on something that I actually support. So in principle that I support a project, but because of the other implications of it, it almost pushes me in a position to have to say no on something that I want to say yes on.
Yeah, same thing with me.
Where if I have that pause, you know, I'd be supportive of it, so.
Thank you. Councilman Carlson,
Yeah,
last word.
it's the same thing with me, and the problem is, we were supposed to have talked about the criteria today, but staff moved it to September, which makes us push everything out. I'm just gonna pass out this memo real fast and give it to the clerk, the one I emailed, but we're not setting necessarily new criteria, but the question is, how do we compare projects against each other? For example, a month ago or so, the staff said, well, talked about the per unit price of Funland. Well, we proved through the numbers with Hager that the comparison was not apples and apples. Same thing yesterday, staff said on this project, number 8, that it's 63,000 per unit. It's not apples and apples either. And so, and then the other thing is whether we should, so the question is, how should we compare? In this case, the city gave land, so that throws in a different calculation. And then the other thing is, do you compare on a construction cost basis or a pro forma 50-year cash flow basis, which they call a gap analysis? And so it's not necessarily setting new criteria. It's just figuring out how do you measure one against the other. We don't have an apples and apples comparison right now.
Okay, and really quick, 1 minute. Go
One
ahead.
minute, and I don't disagree with you, but again, it kind of feels like someone who's just waiting around for the best deal to come, and we can't do that. We have to look at what's in front of us. It's the same with evening meeting tonight. Like, we can't look at a parcel and say, you know, I want to wait till a better development comes. That's not our purview to do that. And quite frankly, these communities have been waiting. I'm just for the sake of argument today, I won't support that, but what I will support is a special call meeting to talk about this as soon as possible.
Since it's your motion, do you want to have 30 seconds, sir, to rebut the final one on this, sir?
Is that a motion to amend to add the special session? Because I could support that.
No, but we can do it separately. Like, I don't want to.
Okay,
And
so
we should do
complicate
that
the
at
record.
motion time? I mean, because this deals with the agenda
so
now.
we could let this die and then have a special session to deal with this issue.
I have no problem with that, but again, I'd like to hear from Mr. McCray. And
I'll withdraw my motion, but I would just say the same thing that Board Member Clendenin said. I probably would support this project on number 8, but if it comes up for a vote today, I would vote no, just because we don't have the objective criteria. I might, if it's in October, I might vote yes. So that's just where I stand right.
So it appears then that the motion is withdrawn in effect. So let's proceed. I have to do, may I have a motion to approve minutes from the June 12th meeting, please? We have a motion by Board Member Maniscalco, second by Board Member Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? May I also have a motion to approve the walk-on item for the Tampa Museum of Art? We have a motion by Board Member Maniscalco, second by Board Member Clendenin. All in favor?
Let me ask.
Oh, yes, sir. Go ahead.
I need to recuse myself on Tampa Museum of Art. Could I ask Mr. The attorney, am I allowed to vote for an administrative agenda item or not? Should I recuse myself on this?
Just to whether it's on the agenda or not?
Yes. Should I recuse myself on that? Or I'm going to recuse myself on the ultimate item, but should I recuse myself on that vote or not?
The answer is, if it's just to keep it on the agenda, you do not need to recuse yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, great. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and begin, I guess, with public comment. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, a motion opened the agenda. Board Member Clendenin, seconded by Board Member Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. Now I believe we begin with public comment. Come forth. And do me a favor, everyone who's here for public comment, and do we usually start with virtual first, correct? Do we use? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so my apologies, guys. Let's do virtual first. We have Mr. Mike Cantor, who is here. Have at it, sir. Okay, I guess Mr. Cantor's not having at it, so we'll proceed with Mr. Randolph. Go for it, Mr. Randolph, if you're there.
Good morning. My name is Michael Randolph, and I'm with the West Tampa CDC. What a time we're living in. I stand before you today to speak not just about the calm before the storm, but of this silent, this melanin of our community safety net in the wake of federal policies under the Trump administration, combined with the accelerating pace of corporate dismantling and artificial intelligence job displacement, we are facing a profound shift in the socioeconomic landscape, one that demands a bold and visionary response. Outdated solutions cannot meet the moment. Survival in this new norm requires forward thinking, infrastructure rooted in innovation, equity, and empowerment. Tampa needs a strategy for the next generation, and our response is the Technology, Wealth Building, and Job Creation Center. This concept isn't this center isn't a concept, it's an engineer. It uses tech forward programming to create pathway out of poverty and in ownership, innovation, and long-term stability. It offers training in digital literacy, entrepreneurship, and artificial intelligence productivity, equipping residents not just to compete but to win. The benefits of reduction in crime by providing pathway to prosperity for at-risk youth. We reduce criminal activities and foster a long-term community stability. Anti-gentrification. As residents elevate their own income levels and build generational wealth, they can remain in and invest in their own community, mitigating displacement caused by redevelopment. Economic growth. New residents-owned businesses will increase the tax base and stimulate local economy activities. Financial confidence. The center ripple effect will spark heightened interest from investors and lenders drawn by its community impact and sustainable return. This isn't just a redevelopment, it's a moment. A pathway where West Tampa residents don't need to witness a change, but they lead it. We've been getting information inquiries from around the nation as to this new type of development. Join us in late August as we present to the nation
Thank
West
you, sir.
Tampa at its best.
We appreciate you, Mr. Randolph. It appears that Mr. Cantor has appeared. So, Mr. Cantor, go for it, sir. Unmute yourself if you don't mind, sir, so that we can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we sure can. Go for it.
Great, okay, sorry for the confusion.
You're fine.
Okay, I'm here today to support Urban Reworks infill project on Nebraska Avenue. I think I have, what, like 3 minutes? Is that correct?
Yes, sir, you do. Yep, up to.
Okay, well, I'll try to keep it brief and to the point. I've worked on homeless and near homeless matters now for about 40 years, half my life. I've been heavily involved with Habitat here in Tampa at one point, and I'm currently working with Tampa Hope out at the campus outside of Ybor City. I've, along with my wife, co-founded a homeless ministry initially at First Presbyterian Church, which used to be the Downtown Presbyterian Church. The reason we now work with Catholic Charities is First Pres moved to another part of town, and we had to find a new location for that. During the time that we were operating out of First Presbyterian Church, we had a very interdenominational volunteer support program. We had 8 churches involved, including Designers Way, which is a predominantly Black church out on the east side of Tampa. I'm currently involved with a project involving Sacred Heart Church, which hopefully is also going to involve St. Peter Claver Church, right in the Nebraska Avenue corridor. So enough on my background and interest. But one of the things that I want to emphasize is from the calculations I've been able to do, the housing problem is well beyond being a problem at this point, not only here locally, but nationally. It's a crisis. According to my calculations, Hillsborough County is about 50,000 units short, and I'd be happy to share my data if anybody's interested to see how I derive those numbers. What Thad Verde is trying to get done in the Nebraska Avenue corridor, it's a perfect example of an infill project in an area of particular need. From what I've read and what Thad has informed me of, his project is very consistent with the Tampa
Thank you, Mr.
Comprehensive
Cantor.
Plan.
We appreciate you, sir. Your 3 minutes are up. Thank you very much, sir. Next,
I'm
we
done.
have Ms. Rodriguez. Go for it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, council. I'm
And if you don't mind
speaking
giving
on
your name,
Showman's
please,
Rest
ma'am.
today, but first I would
If you
like
don't mind, Ms.
to,
Rodriguez, giving your name.
oh, I'm sorry,
fine.
Adrienne Rodriguez.
Thank you, ma'am.
Tampa resident. I am speaking on Showman's Rest today, but not too long ago, Councilman Carlson suggested the city look into possibly setting aside funds for future GPR scans because this is an ongoing thing with cemeteries. Since Showman's Rest listed the parcel of land within Woodlot Cemetery in March of 2025, the potential buyer of the parcel of land had her camera disabled, her security cameras were disabled. She received threatening letters in the mail, parked cars parked across the street from her home. And as if that's not enough, someone took it upon themselves to log on to a state website and filled out a historical cemetery form on a parcel of land that's zoned RS 50. The state sent a letter to Showman's Rest with the electronic signature of a person who oversees an organization related to cemeteries. It's unethical, if not criminal. The Greater Showman's Rest Association is looking into pressing charges, and they're waiting to hear back from their attorneys. John Persia, president of Showman's Rest, would have allowed a GPR prior to what he calls public humiliation and a three-ring circus, no pun intended. The one thing I've learned from saving cemeteries, it's always best to work together, not against one another. Mr. Persia would like for the city to know that Showman's Rest is 100% agreeable to a GPR scan as long as they don't have to pay for it. Perhaps USF could help. And if a motion needs to be filed with legal, would one of you please initiate the process as he's anxious to move forward with this? Thank you for your time today, council, and have a great day.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you. Okay. There being no further virtual public comment, we go to in person. So, ma'am, and whenever you all come up, please state your name.
Good morning. My name is Maida Martinez. Everyone knows me as Mimi. Hi. I live in Ybor Heights, and I am a member of the East Tampa CAC committee. I'm here today to support agenda item number 1 and number 8 because I do believe that it's going to benefit the community. In the community, there seems to be 2 schools of thoughts on these projects. One, there are people who believe that these projects will not benefit the community. And then the other big issue is money. And it's a concern for us, and it's a concern for you. We are at a crossroads right now where for the first time, the East Tampa CRA is getting a lot of developers who are interested in developing East Tampa. That's a good problem. But it's also opened up a can of worms as far as how do we diversify those funds so that every neighborhood in East Tampa feels like they're getting a little piece of that pie. But also, how do we know what is the best developer and what developer really has the community in mind? I do believe that there is an opportunity for us to have a more competitive special use grants application process to help us kind of navigate how we select who we're going to fund and how much we're going to fund. We have attracted developers to come to East Tampa, so I agree we should not slow that down, and we need to strike while the iron is hot. But now we're at a crossroads. So how do we evaluate who gets what? I don't subscribe to the thought where it's first come, first served. I don't. People are knocking at the door, and that's a good thing, but we also have to be very careful because you're gonna have bad characters who are knocking at that door too. So for me, when I see a developer who comes here and they lay out line by line how they're gonna bring economic development into the community, how they're going to reduce slum and blight in an area that has been traditionally known for decades to be an area of drug dealing and prostitution, because the harsh reality, that is what the economic engine is on Nebraska Avenue. And that's hard to say, but it is. There, in the underworld, a lot of money is being made off of selling drugs and prostitution on Nebraska Avenue. Our barrier is we cannot tell private homeowners, hey, you can't sell drugs here. And we cannot go to these private business owners who own hotels, hey, you need to stop prostitution here. But we can bring in other types of development. That is our weapon to counter that, to bring in wholesome economic development that the people who live there will benefit from. So a lot of things for us to all think about. I appreciate what you do. I think we have some tough questions to ask, but I do think even as a CAC member, it could be very confusing for me as well, as to who should I support and who I shouldn't. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you. Next speaker, please. And state your name if you don't mind. Thank you, sir.
All right. Good morning, Bobby Creighton. Just wanted to briefly comment on the opening discussion that y'all had this morning. I think everybody had some really good points. It's certainly a challenge. As somebody who watches every meeting, watches all the CAC meetings, even for CACs where I don't live, I'm just, addicted to it. But you mentioned an erosion of trust or, not having clarity. That's already started to cascade, because when I watch a meeting and a developer comes up and says, hey, this is my request, and then nobody knows how much money there is to fund it, that's a problem. Obviously that's a problem.
And if I may, Mr. Creighton, just to hold the clock, just for anybody talking out there, please don't speak in the audience while folks are talking or while you're in here. If there's conversations, let's have them outside, please. We appreciate you. Go for it.
Thank you. So I do support sorting this out as quickly as possible. If a special session is necessary, I say go for it, because this needs to become clear for other projects that are coming down the line. Unfortunately, we have two on the agenda today. One of those from the last meeting, and that particular developer has been put through the meat grinder with this process, with unclear expectations, et cetera, et cetera. But I am here to speak in support of Urban Rework's project. Think about the context of where this development is going to occur. What is around there? Prostitution, drug dealing, the highest concentration of sexual offenders in the county, all clustered together right there, right where he wants to put a development. If you ask me, this is an opportunity for the CRA to inject funds into a part of the city where it's needed the most. I don't know anywhere else in the city where you have all of those different factors coming together to make a situation quite that unique and quite that unfortunate. So I personally do support this development. Funding this project sets a standard. It says government's going to go first. We see a problem. We're going to put the money up to fix it. There's lots of other projects coming down the pipeline. There's a particular developer on Nebraska Avenue. They're asking for all their projects upwards of $80 million. That's going to take public-private partnerships. If the CRA and the local government can say, look, we're going to plant the seed here because it's desperately needed, maybe people in the private sector would look at that and say, okay, the government really cares about what's going on here. There's a developer who's willing to stick their neck out. I mean, you either got to be crazy or have a really clear vision and deep conviction to invest in that particular location. You have private developers who see that the government is supporting that, who see that there's other projects in the pipeline. You have those private investors who say, okay, maybe I'll get on board with some of these other projects down the line on Nebraska Avenue because we see that there's the commitment, not only from the CRA, but also from somebody taking that step and to venture into this territory. He followed, in terms of the Urban Reworks project, running out of time. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Next, please, and state your name if you don't mind.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, board members. Allison Hewitt, third generation resident East Tampa, business owner, and candidate for District 5. Lots of conversations about the project. I want to talk about policy. According to the policy, no more than $1 million should be paid for one CRA area at one time. Where in the packet do you address that issue? The next one is RFP waiver. If you have a project over $1 million, there must be an RFP waiver that's approved by the board. Where is that in there? Also, if there is a project over $1 million, it requires a program change by the board. Where is that in the agenda today? Don't put these great projects in jeopardy for a protest because we're not following the policy as we move these projects forward. The next thing is about these projects, especially for transparency for the community. Each summary of each project is different. So you've got to really pay attention to try to find out how many homes are there, what's the AMI, how much is a project. I request a consistent breakdown of how you describe these policies, these programs, so that the community can follow and not have to just dig into it. I also say, please do a workshop because we need some consistency. We need to make sure that everything is provided to you in a formal process. Number 4, we have the request to support permitting in the CRA. Want to say there's some great concerns because the East Tampa overlay was worked on by the people of the area, and there are developers who go in who are either not told about the overlay, are told to just ignore the overlay, or if they want to use the overlay, their projects is pushed back time and time again, and so their projects are slowed down. Also would like to talk about, we have the tree trimming in the budget on the agenda, but we have on communications and outreach on your budget proposal for the CRA. You have Central Park, Channelside, Ybor City 2 that has money set aside for communications and outreach, but you don't have it in East Tampa and the other CRAs. Why is that the case? I did ask that at a public hearing, and I was told that we're hiring a firm to do the outreach. So how are we using that money? To a firm to do the outreach, or to go specifically to each one of those CRAs? I also would like to talk to you about it has been requested to push back. We have the number 6. We have been working with the banks to make sure we create a line of credit because there are businesses in our community who cannot take advantage of these grants, and we need you to be able to potentially have a workshop on that. And last but not least, we have the CRPs. The CRPs is what governs all the CRAs. Right now, you're having CRPs that you're going to approve, but where is the update on what you did for the original CRPs? How are we going to know where we're going to go? Was it effective? Did we spend the money correctly? If we're approving CRPs that do not address the past actions.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please, and please state your name, sir.
Hi, I'm Ray Coker, and I'm here to support Urban Reworks. The last time I was here, I mentioned that when I moved to Tampa, I was doing some work for Baltimore downtown consulting work, and they told me about one other people coming to work for the city to improve Ybor City, and I didn't know what Ybor City was, and so I wanted to be a part of it a little bit, and so I bought a property on 4th and redid that property, and my first renter was a school teacher at the school there. It was her first job. She was enamored with the idea of walking across the street to the school. And I remember saying to her that I don't want to rent to you because I don't think it's safe for you to be here. And of course today, I would never say that. But also today, I'm not sure a brand new teacher could afford rent there. You know, I did some other things in my small way. I ran a business boot camp at the Hilton in Ybor once a month for quite a few years, and I would bring in people from all over the country. And of course, I loved to tell about the history of Ybor when we walked to a restaurant at lunchtime and the architecture. But for me, one of my things that I like the most about the area is the diversity of the people. I just love that whole part of it. And you know, right now I live on 19th Street near the little bodega there. And I just love being on my porch and watching the stream of people come down that street and the buses of kids. And I love that part of Ybor. To tell you a real quick story, I recently, you guys probably know who Arthur Brooks is. He writes on public policy, and I know him. He writes on happiness, and he teaches a very popular class at Harvard on happiness. I haven't read any of his books, but I read his monthly article that he publishes in the Atlantic. And I'm not religious, but he's a devout Catholic, and he was writing this one article on sort of the social science and philosophy around helping people that are poor. And his argument was something like this, if I remember it correctly. And remember, he's also a strong Catholic. And he said that, you know, the situation's an imbalanced situation. It leads to unhappiness when you help people that are poor often. He says, but if you set up a social exchange type of model, he didn't use that term, but you know, it can make everyone quite happy with the situation. And so he said from his perspective. Sir,
unfortunately, you're out of time, but we appreciate you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Next speaker, please state your name, sir.
Vincente, Tampa, Florida. I want to say uhuru. Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. And we as African people should always be thinking about our freedom. I think about our freedom and how it's connected to 825 years, 52 generations of oppression, subjugation. And one thing, anybody who knows me personally know I'm easily offended. I'm so sensitive. I'm so sensitive, some people think I'm gay sometimes. I'm that sensitive. I don't like perfumes. I don't like cigarette smoke. Sister Connie will tell you. I don't like marijuana smoke. I don't like the smell of alcohol. I don't like a lot of stuff I don't like. Any artificial odors I don't like, it bothers me. I'm that sensitive. I'm sensitive. And I don't like a man talking about right before I speak, talking about where it's unsafe to live, because that's where we live. It's offensive. White people offend you in your face and they think we're too dumb to understand. 825 years of African ignorance, African oppression, African subjugation. When I attempt to articulate, I'm cut off from this city council. Can't talk about reparations. Can't talk about 26% of the budget that deserved to come to us, a $2 billion budget, or $1 billion budget, when the budget used to be $100 million. We can't talk about 26% of it coming to us, to our hood. We can't talk about it. Hey, shut up, sit down. That's not that's not on the agenda. You know, when you walk into an auto parts store sometimes, you can tell how stupid the salespeople are. Because you're right there trying to buy something for your car that's disabled, and they trying to hustle on the phone, trying to talk to a phone customer. That's how stupid this city council is. People standing in line, but the people sitting at home, they get to go first. That's how ignorant this city council is. Oh, you can't call somebody by their name. What the F y'all are, kings, queens? I guarantee you I'm going to jail because I'm calling each and every one of y'all scoundrels by your name right here in this city council building. Watch me. And we gonna check and see what law, what constitutional violation, what statute, what code of conduct someone's violating. Man, y'all above yourselves. Y'all do nothing above yourself. You're ignorant, absolutely positively ignorant. And you have ignorant rules and ignorant regulations. And you let white folks come up here and offend us and think we're supposed to accept it. F all y'all.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you. Next speaker, please. And please state your name.
Good morning, Chair and board members. My name is Kimberly Simon. I'm a new developer here to the city of Tampa. I just wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself. I'm currently working on a small live local affordable housing build on 30th Street. I look forward to learning more about your priorities and how my work can align with the community's vision. Thank you for the work that you do, and I hope to engage with you further as my project moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good luck. We appreciate you. Next, sir, please, and state your name.
Good morning, council. My name's Israel Segura, known as Izzy. Lifelong resident, retired 26 years from the city of Tampa, which included 9 years as the contracts manager for housing community development, where I was involved with a lot of affordable housing projects. Then went to Hillsborough County and did another 10 years over there as procurement analyst for all their affordable housing projects. I'm just here today to speak on behalf of the Urban Reworks Nebraska Avenue project. I'm not going to go into minutia because you, as a diligent city council, have read it and know all the gory details a lot more than I would. All I want to say is that this is a good, viable project for this community, for this area, for its residents, and I think it's got nothing but upside for it. And I want to encourage you and implore you to approve this project. Thank you and have a wonderful morning.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Next, ma'am, and please state your name.
Good morning. Keela McCaskill, native, advocate, servant in the district that we're talking about today. One of you said we wouldn't have done all this with other developments. You're right. We also wouldn't have had a development in an area normally that's been ignored for 21 years. 3 years ago, I came to you and said, we need to have a pre-development program. We need to write grants based on the CRP. That didn't happen. It didn't happen then. It slow walked all the way until developers came to the area. Many of them don't spend a dime in this district. But I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm going to go on to, I appreciate you all being open to delaying making a decision of the funding approvals until there's either one, a District 5 representative, or two, you've done the workshop. So I'm saying none of the reasons you all mentioned, but simply because you don't have a representative that represents us. You don't. I mean, you have some of you that are citywide, but I'm talking about a specific designated seat that can speak to the issues, the concerns that they've heard before you make a decision on funding. I'm concerned about an organization that can show up and do something based on the administration's desires, and it fast walks over any other project that would help the people in the area. I will say that if you can't wait, then you at least need to have a workshop. If you can't just say, no, you're not going to fund it because you feel that you may lose the community trust, you've lost that. You've lost that already. Because the CAC spend their hard-earned time, dollars, resources to come to those meetings, make decisions, and then you change it when they get here. So I'm going to say you've already lost that. So you might as well start fresh. Let's say out of the abundance of caution, being good stewards of taxpayers' dollars, let's have a workshop, special session, whatever you want to call it. But do that. You don't need, did you see Creative Loafing? The way they paint the picture, you don't even have clarity on your own budget. You don't even understand your own matrix or your staff. I believe out of the abundance of caution, you should act in favor of what's right. Do the special workshop, whatever session, whatever that is, or wait until you have representation in this district. I support Urban Reworks project, but you want to know why? You knew it was an issue before he showed up. I told you. I was the developer that showed up and said, I want to follow the CRP from 2004. I want to bring development here working with public-private partnership. I brought you the families. I showed you how it would work. You would have good developers and GCs that's already working with the city. But you know what? It slow walked. He showed up. He was able to use his money to get through pre-development, and now he's here today. I support the project because whatever energy you have for him, I want nothing less than that. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you. Next, please, and please state your name.
Hello, my name is April McCullis. I'm the Grace Family Church Outreach Director. We serve lots of members in this community. And I regularly in my work meet with families who are navigating an unaffordable housing, unstable housing, and are getting priced out of the places that they live. Not because of safety, but because affordable options are out of reach. Years ago, when I taught in Ybor City, I saw the long-standing effects of our historical discrimination, of redlining, of state, federal, and local government not investing in East Tampa. And I saw those decisions sometimes in the families that I served. And so I'm grateful that this conversation is happening right now. It's long overdue. And I'm here in support of the Urban Reworks development on Nebraska Avenue. I believe that this project isn't just about affordable housing, but it highlights and augments the resilience in the community that has already been there. It provides affordable, walkable housing. It reflects the character of Ybor and expands opportunity for working families and small businesses. Urban Reworks has shown a commitment to listening, learning, collaborating with the community, and I believe this is exactly the kind of development that Tampa needs. I fully support this project, and I hope you'll join me.
Thank you, ma'am. And Craig Altman and Debbie Altman were my neighbors growing up, by the way. So and Dean Wild rules.
Well,
so
and I work with Brent, so.
there you go. I know Brent. Go ahead, sir. Please state your name.
Good morning, Council. Jim McCarthy, 1317 West Woodlawn Avenue. I'm here this morning because I just felt compelled as a builder to support this project. I don't know Chad personally, but from what I saw his presentation through the Barrio Latino, his staff, everything from Instagram to everything, it is. I think it's going to be transformational. I know that word is used too often in development about transformational, but if you just look on the ground of the real estate of this location, and you take Nebraska to Nebraska, and you walk down Mitchell, if there's ever a pocket that needs some love, it's this. And this will be transformational. It's not I'm a fee simple ownership builder, but it doesn't matter. Attainable, affordable housing, whether it's rental or ownership, it's about safety. And that's what we need here. Just doing my little due diligence on this company, I feel that they've got the community at best at heart. Coincidentally, I went to Instagram. We all go to Instagram, and I looked Urban Reworks, which, by the way, is a great name. But I found Urban 360, which is a program that we did. My company was the biggest private-public partnership in the city's history. We did 100 homes with 2 non-for-profits, Habitat for Humanity, CDC, and it was successful. But it was successful, but the community didn't think it was successful because there was not enough outreach. So there's got to be better communications between community and home building. And statistics speak for itself. Our Urban 360 program, over 90% of our residents of 100 homes were African American. Close to 90% were already living within the boundaries of the CRA. So misinformation out there and the Facebook chatter and negativity, these guys look like they're real. And I don't get into, like Izzy said, the minutia of the details, but you've got a CRA staff that's the best. I mean the best. So I have full faith in this, and I hope you support this project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. And before, sir, if I may, I just want, Pastor Frank, are you in line, or did you? Yeah. Okay, do you mind, sir, if he goes really fast, just go, if you want to go, you may. Okay, just whatever, just making sure. Go, sir, go ahead.
How y'all doing? My name is John Dangler. I'm the CEO for Wellbuilt Cities. We've been known historically as the Well. Some of you might know us by that. We've been working for over 20 years with homeless and working poor folks throughout the city. And we have seen throughout the city the kind of devastating impact of gentrification and development, over time here. And so many of the folks, in fact, so much of our work is now taking place up in University area because so many of the neighbors that we knew when we were right here, headquartered right here, have been pushed really outside of the city limits. And so when I started hearing about this Reworks affordable housing proposal, I started paying attention. I've been watching in from online and listening to the community concerns around it too. And I mean, to be honest, we've seen property values in East Tampa skyrocket. I remember not 15 years ago, I was working with a nonprofit just buying houses in the neighborhood to do for their program residents. They were $25K a pop. back then. You can't find anything under $250,000 now. And that's just over the 15 years. So like at some level, it's already taken place. We've already seen the displacement. And like, I've heard us talk about like home ownership model would be better. That's true. Everybody, that'd be great. But where's it happening and how's it happening? And so a project like this, an investment like this, I started thinking about like $5 million. That sounds like a lot of money. It's a huge percentage of this construction cost. But over a 50-year lockup on 80%, and I heard a recent proposal said even included some units at 50% and 30% AMI in response to requests from the community. That's like $100,000 a year to lock up 20 units for 50 years. That's $100,000 a year on 20 units. That's $5,000 a unit for 50 years. That's I mean, that's just, to me, seems like a smart use of funds to lock this up, because it's an inevitability as we see this tide rising. People are getting displaced right and left. And I think whatever model we can come up with to secure housing, secure, attainable, affordable housing for our neighbors, like our working class neighbors that we desperately need to stay and remain part of our community. Like, we've got to innovate. We've got to do whatever it takes. So this is it's like, oh, it's only 20 units, but it's potentially a model. Like, what if we figure this out? What if we can do infill all over the city? What if we can actually retain our neighbors and not just see constant displacement? Because honestly, even for me, like, I benefited from the first-time homebuyer program through the city of Tampa, and I went through that, and it was like, I'm college educated, full-time employed. I think I might be the poorest person that program could possibly help. It almost killed me getting in this house, and that was before COVID, which the numbers are astronomically greater since 2019 when I was able to get in. So I don't know, is this a perfect project, a perfect investment? I just think we got to try. We got to do what we can. And so anyway, I do want to encourage you guys to take this investment seriously. To me, it just seems like a smart play for a long-term security on working class housing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Sir? Okay. Go ahead, sir. State your name, please, sir.
Good morning. Ernest Koenig Jr., the CEO of the CDC of Tampa. Want to come out in support of line items 7, 8, and 9. 7 is important because we need to increase home ownership in East Tampa. We need to set a goal, and we as CRAs, City of Tampa, everyone, we need to get to 75% home ownership rates in East Tampa, right? So that's important for us. And also 9, when you think about hurricane season coming, a lot of trees fall down on these homes, and then it's like forever to get to FEMA, and insurance doesn't cover things. So the more we can trim homes, so there's specific programs to think about. Is it elderly? If it's trees near homes, how do we prioritize those, especially during hurricane season? When it comes to number 8, we've heard a lot of comments, and thank you for your comments earlier today. I think we definitely need to figure out how we evaluate these programs. But 2 things I definitely believe in is, number 1, are they transformative? Right? So we heard about like drug access and different things like that. When we talk about this project, we're talking about how do we fundamentally change the commerce in East Tampa. The housing is phase 1. Behind it also comes the commercial, which will have University of South Florida, HCC, and CDC of Tampa is creating a fab lab to help support the small manufacturing businesses. But we have been challenging people. We have to have employment centers in East Tampa. We have to fundamentally change what we're doing in East Tampa, and this is the beginning of it. So I definitely believe that we need to go through a process to figure this out. We need to do that. My greatest issue that I also have is, like, for the Funland Theater, I love that we had affordable housing, but we didn't do anything from a community benefits agreement standpoint. I can't tell you how many residents in one of the lowest household incomes have gotten jobs on that project. I can't tell you how many black small businesses have gotten opportunities to develop on that, because we gave them money and we got excited about the housing. So when we start evaluating these projects, we need to think about an economic and community development perspective. How many jobs will it create? What's the economic and commerce that it's going to change, and how do you fundamentally help to transform these areas? So those are some of the reasons I am voting or approving those 7, 8, and 9. And hopefully we can continue to do this great work and figure this out as a community. We all have to pull in the same direction. And people come into East Tampa, people leave East Tampa. But if we don't leave a legacy that fundamentally transforms East Tampa to be a better city, ultimately our goal is, can we have a transitionless city? If we drive out of Ybor into East Tampa, come up 22nd Street, you can feel and taste the difference. How do we fundamentally change that?
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you. Next, please. And state your name.
Good morning, council members. My name is Shalette Davis. I lead a small Christian nonprofit called Love Inc., Love in the Name of Christ, and it's our mission to mobilize Christian churches in order to transform lives and communities in the name of Christ. I want to speak today in strong support of Urban Reworks, that development project. Love Inc. Runs a small volunteer-led help center in downtown Tampa. And when I started in this role 2 years ago in 2023, the average number of requests was 40 per month. That same summer, our requests skyrocketed to 65. And last month alone, we had 85 requests for help. Large majority of those requests are for housing. Loving doesn't have housing. We have resources that are provided by our church partners. So 10 of those requests came from churches, our church partners, 48 from individuals, like community members, just Googling for help, and 62 came from agencies, much larger than Love Inc. So we need affordable housing, and we are seeing the human toll of this crisis every single day. In the last 6 months, I've worked with at least 3 suicidal guests. That's what we call our clients. People crushed by housing instability that they've lost hope. People like Dale, a former police officer who never imagined needing help. He actually sent me a suicide letter. Jimmy, who is a beloved shoeshine guy, formerly working at the Oxford Exchange. We finally got Jimmy in housing. Takesha, a single mom of 2 boys, one with special needs, who received rental assistance only to lose her job literally the next week. We're helping guests like Gloria, who works full-time at $15 an hour and still unable to make rent. And just recently we got a request from Jay, a small business owner, who was referred to us by a leader at the CDC. And just last week, Paula, overwhelmed by her housing search, attempted to throw herself in oncoming traffic on Florida Avenue. It's all because they're searching for affordable housing. Urban Reworks project is not just another development, it's a lifeline. It tells people like Takesha, Gloria, Jimmy, and Paula that the city sees them and values them. It shows that neighborhoods like VM Ybor and East Tampa are worth investing in, and that longtime residents have a right to remain here. I urge you, please, give your citizens a fighting chance. Fully fund this Urban Reworks project, and let's keep Tampanians in Tampa. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, please, and please state your name. I agree, well said.
Good morning, Connie Burton. FYI, for those that bought houses over in Ybor City, live in that area or walk that area, if you think that is the only area that's dealing with prostitution, you got another thing coming. Maybe you need to try Bayshore and downtown where upscale workers work at. And I think it's very offensive that people have to describe the neighborhood in which they want the resources by putting the people down. If you didn't like it, you shouldn't have never moved there. That's number one. Number two, it is painful also to see now all of these allies that love Ybor City and want that area to be improved. 20 years ago, we couldn't have got not one of their white voices to come and stand with the black community in East Tampa when we have been trying to eliminate blight and slum in our community. Help our young people from going into the wrath of the criminal justice system. Wouldn't have said a word, but now what they want is what you want. Because if it wasn't what you wanted, when the CAC said, give them $2 million, you would have supported District 5. Unfortunately, for the untimely death of our council person, we are now taxation without representation. You need to slow this ship down. Because yes, there's a lot of developers coming, but now we are operating first come, first serve. Who can get up here first? How many people can they get up here to plead their case? No Urban Reworks, as you ask them to go back and change their plan and see if they can get some housing, Section 8 funding and all of that, and bring your numbers down. Who's going to be the watchdog? You're not following your own policies. You're doing what you think is feasible for your own political future, but you better watch out. You better watch out.
Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead, Ms. Bullock, and state your name if you don't mind. But before you begin speaking, other than Pastor Frank, if you're speaking, you're sitting, and you plan on speaking, could you please raise your hand? Okay. We'll get you all. And yeah, you don't have to get in line until you want to, but just making sure. Go ahead, ma'am, and please state your name.
Good morning, Valerie Bullock from Ponce de Leon College here. This right here was the first rendition of the Ybor, Ybor apartments. It was 4 stories high and it was supposed to be 30 apartments. That got changed when the Barrios Latino Committee got involved. This is Casa Maceo, the man born, raised, died, buried in Cuba, never been to East Tampa, day of his life, Ybor City or Tampa. But what do? We build apartments on 22nd Street and Columbus Drive. We name him Casa Maceo. And he ain't never did nothing. Who cares about him? He's in Cuba. We had some black people in Tampa whose name should have went up there. It's in a black neighborhood. So Ybor City gets to flourish off of the pain and the gentrification of black people. No. This is the cigar man, Drew Newman, one of the nicest guys I ever met. But this is Tampa Airport. It says the Cigar Museum, it says Ybor City. But they came to East Tampa and got $5 million. And with the gas work, we know the millionaire partner, he stay over there on Bayshore. And the Barrios Latino Commission, they're over it. They're saying what you can build, how you can build it, the color you can paint it. But guess where the funding come from? East Tampa CRA. That needs to stop. If we got money for developers, we need to have money for the homeowners. We got to move funds from here, move funds from there to reallocate the tree trimming program. The tree trimming program shouldn't have never got broke. We need to stop being the laughing stock. Everybody comes downtown. First they go to East Tampa CRA. East Tampa CRA say no, oh, we'll override them, we'll go downtown to city council. We need to stop that. When you can have a $5 million home in my neighborhood, but I need a roof or the lady next door kitchen floor is gone. That's not what the CRA funds was meant for. We need to see a chart every month. CRA funds, where did the money go? To the business owners, to the developers, how much went to the residents? Because apparently we are not getting nothing except bamboozle by developers. Everybody want to come in East Tampa and build, but they say they don't have no money. The money have to come from East Tampa CRA. Now, it's a shame if we have to go into tree trimming fund or go into the summer youth program to make sure that Gas Works gets money. They might need to go back to somebody else.
Thank you,
get
ma'am.
it.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And go ahead, sir, and state your name if you don't mind, sir.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Tony Brown. I'm the Vice President of the Tampa Bay Economic Development Council. And we're here to support item number 8. It's not just about a project to build housing. It's about a project that's going to invigorate East Tampa and the East Tampa Industrial District. Actually, East Tampa is the first phase of the Live, Learn development, and we thank you for the confidence you put in us in terms of allowing the land to allow this project and the East Tampa Innovation Center to be built. Since 2022, the EDC has been engaged in East Tampa. We completed a plan to look at how can we invigorate the businesses in the industrial district along Columbus Drive between 32nd and 43rd Street. This is one of many projects that we've recommended to help invigorate that industrial district. East Tampa Works report was a report commissioned by the EDC, and we presented that report to the CRA staff, and it is consistent with the East Tampa Strategic Action Plan, and it is the guiding light for our investment in activities in the East Tampa Industrial District. Actually, East Tampa is catalytic to the East Tampa Works plan. Ashley East Tampa is phase 1 of the Live Learn development. Ashley East Tampa will provide affordable housing next to a training facility to provide for high wage, high demand employment opportunities presented by some of our top academic institutions in the region, University of South Florida, Hillsborough College, and the CDC of Tampa. Ashley East Tampa is 100% affordable. 100% of the units will have income restrictions benefiting households earning less than $55,000. Ashley East Tampa will have 68%, will set aside 68% of its units that will benefit a household income earning less than $44,000. The CRA investment at $82,000 a unit will be leveraged by Integral by 3.5 times. When you add the investment to be made in the economic development component, your investment gets leveraged 6.5 times. We commit to you that the EDC, this is not a one and done project for us. We are committed not only to the entire region, but we are committed to East Tampa. Ashley East Tampa, as I mentioned, is phase 1 of the Live Learn development. The Live Learn development is intended to invigorate the East Tampa Industrial District. We're not one and done. We know we need to do more. East Tampa has the highest rates of unemployment, has the highest rates of unemployment, and the highest rates of poverty.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank
Thanks
you.
for listening.
Next, please, ma'am, and please state your name.
Good morning. My name is Bishop Michelle B. Patty. I live in Brandon, Florida, which is a part of Hillsborough County, as such as the city of Tampa. I was born and raised right here in Hyde Park on North 8th Street. I came today because nowhere in the city charter, when we get instruction from the attorney to tell us who can and cannot come to a public entity and voice their concern. You allowed a white woman last week who felt like she's privileged and she's entitled to say that the people have to Google her and call her to get their concerns heard. This is the year 2025. We've been free for quite a long time. And I'm standing here because we have young interns, we have young people that listen to the city council meeting, and I want them to fully understand what their rights are as citizens. Nobody can tell us when or where or how we can speak. I've been looking around the room for Karen. I don't see her this morning, but not only do I live in Brandon, I fully own my home. Because I believe, my husband and I, we worked hard, we paid our bills, and we paid our house off early because of the learning that I received by being a resident of this Hillsborough County, 1508 North 8th Street, in a house that was fully paid for. I will not tolerate disrespect, personally or not to the people that I represent. If people want to call me and voice their concern, they are able to do that, and I'm going to bring the concern, whether it be to the mayor or to the city council. But nobody is going to tell me what we can and cannot do in this age of time. So the city council, you all need to take control of your meetings and stop the blatant disrespect, because all this ignorance that has been going on is uncalled for. There are real issues. People are facing real problems. People need a place to live. They even need a place to die. But we're not going to take any more disrespect. So I don't know who pushing her up or who told her that she have the privilege to talk like she did last week. And because you can't say anything back, you can't, I had to wait and come down here today, make it my business to let you all know that I will not tolerate disrespect. I don't disrespect anyone, and no Karens are going to get up here and disrespect me or the people that choose to call me. Nobody have to Google her or call her. And her friends, if they egging this foolishness on, that's on them. But that's a message for everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker, and please state your name.
My name is Astari. I didn't grow up in Tampa. Excuse me. I didn't grow up in Tampa. I'm actually from Atlanta, so I've just been listening to the people. I'm here to support the WeWorks program or the project. However, listening to the people, everybody wants development in this particular area. I understand affordable housing, parts of the community fears that the development will push them out, as well as there's, I guess, prostitution or drug dealing that a gentleman spoke of that he doesn't like. Does development need to happen? Everybody seems to agree that it does need to happen. But what happens after the development? Everyone deserves a place to stay. Everyone deserves to have a house. It sounds like more people are more concerned about the funding as opposed to the safety and the caring of people. We're all people here. No matter the color, the race, or where you come from, we're all people, and we're all people under the eyes of God. None of us are better or worse than the other. So, should development take place in an area that sounds like it's been left to just be there? It should. Yet, what is the entire community going to do? The city council, you are here to serve the people. Yet the people, you are here to serve your community. And we're all a community, as opposed to spitting out anger, discussing the problems over and over and over again. This is an opportunity for a solution that can be a foundation moving forward. We just need love. A young lady spoke that you have suicide because people don't have anywhere to go. You have people that are afraid that they're going to be pushed out of their community. That's another version where somebody can possibly take their life. This is a moment where everybody in this room, we can be better for each other. Support the development, but after that, there has to be a solution because we all have to be able to work together and create partnerships. And that's what we should be discussing as opposed to more the funding. The funding is going to take place, but we have to think about each other's lives. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Who wants to go next? Okay. And please don't forget to state your name.
Hello. Thanks for letting me come in. My name is John Day. I was born and raised in St. Pete and went to the University of Florida, and then went north and spent most of my life in Pennsylvania and Connecticut, and came down for my 5th high school reunion and hooked up with a girl I took to the prom. And I was happy to come back to Tampa. Because one of the cool things about Tampa, I remember my parents, when they had a big occasion, like an anniversary or something, they'd come to Tampa for the Columbia restaurant. So Tampa was always, woo, even bigger than, but at any rate, I love Tampa. It's great. I live over in Tampa Baptist Manor, just over the bridge by UT, and I worship downtown at the portico. The portico. And so I have a heart for the city, and I like the city. And now I want to speak in favor of item number 1, the project in Ybor. It seems like it's going to get people working there who live there. They're going to be able to have jobs building it, and they're going to be able to afford to live there. So it seems like a great idea. And now that's a proximal goal. I wish you all would lift your eyes a little bit above just the emergency now, and think about 10 years from now. We really need affordable housing. What we really need is like a 10-story high-rise for homeless people with wraparound psychiatric units, psychiatric care, and medical care. And if they're homeless, you won't have to have a parking garage. So, you got it made. So at any rate, let's keep moving ahead. We'll get one project done, and then we have to do something for the homeless guys too. but we have to maintain our businesses and our local folks living where they are.
You've got 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Next. If there's anybody else besides Pastor Williams, please make sure to stand up.
Good morning, Council. Robin Lockett. I'm here to speak in regards to item number 1 and 8. I know there's questions regarding the funding of item number 1, but I supported this development with the last meeting, and I still support it. I had questions about it because a lot of things were indecisive or unclear based on the last, in the last council meeting. I've since spoken with the developer, and all of my concerns have been answered, but like I said, I know there's questions in regards to how much it's going to be funded by. We have a housing crisis. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. And we can't build 5-story buildings with big units in every spot of the city. So this site here offers an opportunity for you to build in clusters, a few here, a few there, throughout the community, throughout the city, to be honest. So it's a good project, outside of whatever happens with the funding. But the idea and the makeup of it, with 20 units, 6 being 50%, 2 being 30%, that's a good number, right? So I do support this. In regards to number 8, I support that. I supported that in a council meeting also. Again, 100 units with a manufacturing tool to it, where people can walk to work or walk to get training and so forth. So I support that. I hear all the time with my organization members saying, where are the trainings? Where are the trainings? I point to Irwin. Well, what's at Irwin? Well, now this offers another avenue for that also. So I support both items. Thank you for your time. Oh, and one other thing. Yellow Jackets in the budget. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Pastor Williams.
Well said.
My name is Pastor Williams, used to be located 1112 East Scott Street. But somehow or another, they got me out of that house, out of that church. But you know what? I thank God for all the comments they have made. And I don't want to turn my back on y'all. I want y'all to look at me.
Okay.
Thank God for everything y'all did, what y'all said. I hope it's being recorded. Because you know what? They come up with me with a whole lot of foolishness. And we got to speak peaceful. I've got to commend you. Thank you for what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. God gonna bless you, regardless of whether the people like it or not. You know, I come up here basically, I told you I wanted to be last, but I'm not last. Some other people coming up after me. We got to thank God for another day of living. Thank Him for His blessing. We act like we want to ignore what God has done for us. He the one that woke us up this morning. We ought to tell Him thank you. Ain't that right? Whether y'all agree with me or not, it's true and it's right. But you know, I look at the situation here in Tampa, Florida, a place called East Tampa. We don't want to do nothing for them. I don't even know whether it's in the budget for them to help people in East Tampa, because it looks like don't nobody give a damn. But we got to care about ourselves. I'm so happy for the comment that the people that made around here. I'm grateful to them. They said a whole lot that I wanted to say. So I'm not going to repeat it again. But God is good to all of us. And you want to know what? I got to keep on moving. You got to keep on moving. God bless the old, the young, the ugly. It don't make no difference how we look. God bless all of us. And he loves us all too, you know. I just want to say this thing, that God has strengthened me to come here to another day. And I'm grateful to God for what he's doing for me. And you ought to be grateful too. I done lived to become an old man. And I'm grateful to God that he let me live 87 years. That's a blessing. Some of you, I won't make it that far. But God is so good to us. Y'all ringing that bell on me now. I got to sit down. But Joe Capitano, he come down here a few times. You know what? He donated the Boys and Girls Club to the school. You know what they did? They sold it. And that's a shame. Sold it, and then give him a brown penny for the Boys and Girls Club. And they'll build some high-rises on there. Uh-oh.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak this morning? Okay. Public comment is now closed. So where are we next? Mr. McCrae.
Good morning again, Cedric McCrae, Tampa CRA Director. Per the request that was made last month at the June 12th meeting, item number 1, Urban Reworks, was requested to appear first on the agenda. We will gladly have that, but before we get to that item, item number 8 was never officially approved or pulled from the agenda for discussion, and I'd like to see if we could do that at this time.
Okay, I have a motion from Board Member Maniscalco and a second from Board Member Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, item 8 will be moved from staff, or moved to staff reports.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. And we are, go ahead, Mr. McCrae.
Yes, I was just articulating that Urban Reworks would be up first. Their representatives are here, and then Ms. Parks is on virtually to address any questions that may come up related to the application and the process moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, are the petitioners for number 1 up? And Mr. Singer, if I may inquire, roughly how long do you think you and your clients need?
Hopefully less than 3 minutes.
Okay, we'll set the timer for 5 just in case, but.
Listen, I know y'all got scared when you saw this big stack, but believe me, David Singer for the applicant. Good morning, board members. Like I said, I will be very brief. You heard a lot on June 12th. We don't need to rehash all of that. And you certainly heard a lot during public comment, I think pretty overwhelmingly positive. I just want to refresh you a little bit on some of the important notes with this request and hopefully give you enough information to approve the full request. I think one of the most important things to understand is the agreement that was struck last time about the mix of units here. And 30% of AMI for 2 units, 50% for 6, and 80% for 12. This is locked in over 50 years tied to the AMI. That is 20 years longer than usual. That is going to be a big savings to the residents, a big boost to the residents. Certainly affordable housing is overwhelmingly needed, but it's needed in the context of everything else that's going on in our country, in our state, and our community. People are about to be struggling pretty mightily with Medicaid expenses. People are about to be struggling pretty significantly trying to find employment, with education funding. This is a significant piece of the puzzle that we can do locally in an area of our city that needs help, and for residents that need help. We're asking for 20 units that can be online quicker than any other affordable housing project in the city. And that's why we're here today with significant community support. And I will enter into the record these 81 letters of support from the community, including organizations, but also including residents. I want to take note of how many individual residents are supporting this project in this part of the community because they know it's needed. So we're here to answer your questions. We believe you have enough information already maybe more than enough information, and we ask for your full approval for the funding request. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Singer. Appreciate you, sir. Okay, Board Member Maniscalco, and what I'll do, guys, is, I think we do this under council, is 5 minutes for first round, and then 3 minutes your second time speaking. Third time speaking, you get 10 seconds. So there you go. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So my question is going to go to Mr. McCray.
Questions are different, yeah.
So Mr. McCray, what is the ask here? What is the dollar amount?
From the applicant, it was $5 million.
And what was the recommendation from the CAC?
The recommendation from the staff and the Community Advisory Committee in East Tampa was $2 million.
And $2 million is, you're looking at the budget and what's available within the East Tampa CRA?
That's correct.
Okay. And we had a long briefing yesterday, you and I, and this could be one of many projects. You know, I mean, this is the beginning, is what I see it. And we have to look at what's available and how we can, I don't want to say spread the wealth, but I don't want to start dedicating huge amounts of money here and here and here and here, and then we have to cut this and cut that and whatnot. So, you know, the gentleman that spoke at public comment, Mr. Dangler, I think, explained it more clearly than any other way I've heard it. And this is not, and Mr. Singer mentioned it, it's not 30 years, this is 50 years, locked in 20 units. And it's different from the first presentation, which was 80% AMI. This shows a variety of it, so it would be able to help more people, you know, at different percentages. I know that corridor very well. I've seen very little changes in that corridor in the last 20 years because I would take it every day to go to HCC and Ybor 20 years ago. The biggest change that I saw was south of Martin Luther King was reconfiguration of the road. It went from 2 lanes each, north and south, to the road diet and the center median. But that's it. You know, I mean, it's a very important historic area. VM Ybor, going into Ybor, it's a gateway into Ybor City, gateway into downtown. Coming off Martin Luther King, you see a lack of investment for a long time. I had a conversation with somebody this morning about the damage that the interstate did when it came through in the late 1950s and expanded therefore, and that those neighborhoods haven't recovered. West Tampa was affected, Ybor was affected, this area was affected. Anyways, things that happened under the Eisenhower administration, we're feeling the effects today. People are moving back to that community. Neighborhood associations are strengthening each and every day. I heard about a Nebraska Avenue, like a business corridor that now exists. We've heard from residents. We had Ms. Martinez, Mr. Creighton were here. This is the beginning of a transformational, positive, maybe a renaissance. You know, we see what happened in Tampa Heights with Armature Works, because I used to drive through there all the time with my grandmother. The catalyst, the growth in that area, and I think this is going to further expand it. Not just because of this project, but this is one of many that I hope, you know, come online and you know, it needs it. You know, we talk about affordable housing. Robin Lockett spoke, and that's how I met her, for the need of affordable housing. We've heard from a woman who's sitting in the back in the blue shirt talking about, you know, the need for affordable housing. This isn't going to solve everything, but this is a piece of the puzzle. And I think 50 years is, you put somebody in permanent housing. 50 years is a long time. I'm 41. That's me at 91, if I should live that long. You know, Pastor Williams says, you know, 87 years old. We have to thank God for that. But this is something where people can have a place to live, sleep at night, and not have to worry that they're going to be out on the street at a variety of different incomes. Yes, it's 20 units, but it's better than what was proposed before, and we're touching more people and giving more opportunity. So I want to support it, but I want to support it at what the CAC said, $2 million, and what the staff recommendation was. The $5 million, I get it, you know, $5 million, but if $2 million is what was recommended and makes sense, that's where I want to be at. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Maniscalco. Now, in terms of folks to speak, I saw lights. First, Board Member Miranda. I don't know which one of y'all first.
It doesn't matter for me.
Good. Okay, go ahead, sir.
You know, excuse me, times have changed and things have changed. The problem is you still have the same problem. There used to be 3 areas we would call affordable housing in Tampa when I was growing up in Tampa. Robles Park, Ponce de Leon, and College Hill. And they were always full. There was always a line to get in. And I guess back when my parents applied, somehow they got in. They had to wait, but they got in. We had more kids to play with than ever before in every neighborhood. And if you go back and do an analytical study of those 3, where are the residents, the kids of the parents that went in did, you're going to be amazed how many doctors and lawyers came out of there, how many professional people worked, how well they did in school, and I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about others that were really successful. They worked and understood what it was, and they always helped somebody else. And they worked to help somebody else get out of where they were at. There was none of these programs around. And if there were, I don't think anybody knew about them. So when you look at this, has it made a difference? Yes. And my colleague, Mr. Maniscalco, spoke about the monies. You can't put all that kind of money into one area and be successful. I don't know what the CRs are going to do. I know the ending is within 9 or 10 years in some. And then what? So you can't say I'm going to fund this out for 20 years if you only got 8 years left. I'm not talking specifically about this CRA, but you have to understand where we're at today. Now, what happens if you do what they want to do to the next one that applies? Is it going to be 5 million or 10 million? And I understand what's going on, but I want to make sure that the skin is played both ways, from the CRA and from the developer. But how did those units come about? Robles Park, College Hill, and Ponce de Leon. There was no CRA then. It came from the federal government. That's how the housing authority came about. They're the ones that ran it. They had the offices, and they collected the rent. And I don't know what the rent was, but I guarantee it was less than $40 a month. But things were different, but they're still the same. $40 a month then, now it's $400 a month now, or more. So what I'm saying is there's got to be a medium piece so that everybody can have an opportunity to live, no matter if it's 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, 100, because there's nothing affordable now. The reason I bought the house that I lived, and I bought it on horseback in 1968, that price of the house was $12,600, 3-bedroom, 1 bath. The reason I bought that house because the payment would be $69 a month, would include a second mortgage of $7 included in the $69. I didn't buy the one on Paris Street because it was $119. I remember the conversation I had with my wife. We could not afford the $119. We could afford the $69. That's why I bought the house. And I borrowed $1,250 from my uncle for the down payment. So what I'm saying, everybody's got to skim the game, so family to help family, and that's how I got my start. And I'm saying that I'd like to continue this and make sure that everybody has this administration, let me just change railroad tracks for a minute, has done more affordable housing than maybe the last 2 administrations put together. Not that they didn't want to do it. They had so many other priorities. Everything was shut down. There was no downtown. Ybor City was struggling. Convention Center was struggling. Everybody was struggling. So they didn't have the capital to do it. The one I feel the most for is Mayor Aureo. She took office and there was nothing to do, no money to spend. And she did a marvelous job of running the city. Yes, we had to lay off 750-some employees in the city of Tampa. But she had the courage to do that, to bring it back. If she hadn't done that, we still would be in the hole. So what I'm saying here, we got to be careful how we do it. I'm not against the project, but the $5 million scares the hell out of me because it's going to be something greater after this. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Miranda. Either Board Member Carlson or Clinton, whichever one of you 2 gentlemen want to go.
Bring it in. Yeah, just a clarification. This administration, this city, in the last 6 years has spent more on affordable housing than I think any previous city. But 80 or so % of the money was allocated either by city council or the CRA, not the administration. So a very small amount was put in by the administration. Administration took credit for it, but it was mostly CRA money. I would like to ask Mr. Singer a couple questions. You said there was an agreement from the last meeting just to go through what happened, the community came to us privately and in the meetings and said, look, 80% MI is not enough. We need rooms for people who don't make that much. And so the developer voluntarily offered to put some units in at 50% and 30% AMI. Is that correct?
That's accurate.
And there's an additional cost to the developer for cash flow over 50 years because of that, correct?
There's a significant.
And do you have any idea what that additional number is?
Almost $1 million.
Over 50 years or just?
Upfront, it's an upfront number.
Yeah, so that's like present value of the.
Correct.
And did the developer ask for additional, did they ask for 6 million instead of 5? Or did
No,
they
sir.
keep it at 5?
They kept their request as is.
Okay, and then I'd like to ask Ms. Parks some questions. Ms. Parks, we spoke, Mr. McCray and you and I spoke yesterday. I'd just like to ask you some of the questions that I asked yesterday, just so they're on the record so that the public can hear the answers to them. I'm not trying to ask tough questions or put you on the spot or anything. I apologize for the questions, but I just want to make sure the public hears the information. Is Ms. Parks here?
She's online, supposedly.
Number one, that you recommended in your document $100,000 per unit. What's the basis of that $100,000 per unit versus any other number?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay, B Parks Community Development Coordinator. So the basis of the 100K per unit is in Mr. Baday's application, he stated that he put $2 million as equity, his own sweat equity. So when I'm looking at, funding projects, we typically do not fund more than 50% of construction costs by the CRA in some past cases.
So the particular 100,000 was that the community thinks that that's an arbitrary number. Is it based
that
on
is
some
higher than normal, correct? That is higher than normal. But looking at construction costs, which are averaging 280 to about 300 currently, I came to the calculation based off of our budget as well, that 100K can support the project. Even by standards, that's higher than any municipality in the state of Florida through a CRA is given to projects.
I might cut you off sometimes, and I apologize in advance, but I know they're putting me to a timer, so I want to move and ask you some additional questions. So you created a chart that you recommended a few months ago based on the benchmarking you did, and the developer relied on those numbers in the chart, but you didn't use those numbers. You just stated that you, in part, looked at the budget and the future potential applications that are coming in. But is it not true that the implication that we have in our current process is that we have a first in, first out system, but you're also comparing other applications and future potential applications?
Yes. The matrix was also made for perimeters
And
due
then
to construction costs.
and so you
across all of
benchmarked what
CRAs.
the now you're saying that 100,000 is even more than the benchmark number, but you had recommended a much higher number in the spreadsheet, correct?
Correct.
And then you used just now you said you used the construction
Based
costs.
off of construction costs.
Yeah, just now you said you used the construction cost method, but yesterday we also talked about the gap analysis. Isn't it true that the gap between the market rate rent and the subsidized rent is a much bigger number over 50 years than the construction costs? So if they could charge, for example, $3,000 a month for market rate and they can only charge $1,000, they're losing $2,000 a month, and you have to take whatever that number is with inflation over 50 years and find the present value of it, correct? She's still there? Ms. Parks? And then are you still there, Ms. Parks?
Are you there, ma'am?
Maybe she'll come back, but Mr. McCray, and if Ms. Parks comes back, who made the decision to use the construction cost method to determine the amount of subsidy versus the gap analysis?
That was conversations, and when we were developing the measures, we were having conversations with members of the board and soliciting feedback, and that was also some of the practices that Ms. Parks was pulling together related to
and did city staff
ACD
influence that decision, or was it just the benchmarking that you all did on the outside?
I'm sorry, what the question was?
Did city staff influence that decision, or did you all look at benchmarking on the outside as the main criteria?
No, it was benchmarking outside.
I'm back on.
Okay,
I'm back on.
Ms. Parks, you said
I had
yesterday
to call
that
by
you-
your phone.
Ms.
'cause,
Parks-
there's something wrong with the webinar.
Ms.
But,
Parks, yesterday you said that
repeat
you
the
did
question?
yesterday you said that you did a gap analysis. Do you remember, so that's looking at 50 years of the gap of the market rate versus the subsidized rate. Do you remember what that total number was over 50 years?
It's around $7 million. If you look at market versus the affordable rent.
And that's the
per
present value of whatever the projection is over 50 years?
Correct.
And have you modified that based on the new proposal to go to 50% and 30% AMI?
I looked at, first of all, that gap, there's two different parts of this. So to answer your question, no. Because again, based off of the budget, that's all that could be supported for the project. But just like I spoke with you we could discuss this, but at the workshop, when I present how we process. But
Yeah, my point, as I was saying earlier, is there's a big difference between looking at construction, because construction is just one cost element in the overall gap analysis evaluation over 50 years. Do you know, Mr. Singer, what the total, if you did a gap analysis, what the total number would be over 50 years? And then
if
was
you don't mind, to the podium whenever you answer. Thank you. And for folks in the audience, no conversations, please. Thank you.
And then Ms. Parks, was the CAC presented the developer's proposal for $5 million, or were they presented a recommendation by staff for $2 million?
They were presented the proposal for $5 million, and then I wrote a memo to the CAC explaining why our counter offered with $2 million.
And did the CAC do its own analysis of $5 million versus $2 million, looking at a gap analysis, or did they just go based on this recommendation by staff, based on construction costs?
I can't speak for the CAC. What I presented is what they, went off of. I can't speak if they did their own gap analysis on the project.
So it's not, I mean, what I've heard in feedback is that the CAC went off the recommendation of staff rather than looking at a full gap analysis. And if that's wrong, let me know. One of the concerns in the community in the past is that the city and CRA's process have been that we help big companies but not small companies. This is an example of a small business. And there are examples of nonprofits that have been complaining for us for years that they don't have that they have a disadvantage in applying for things. And without asking a bunch of other questions, this process, as I said earlier, and I sent out a memo about this and gave it to the clerk, but if we're comparing construction costs to gap analysis is apples and oranges, comparing a project where the city is donating land is apples and oranges. And so I think we need to come up with a consistent process that treats people fairly. Did you figure out what the gap analysis number is?
Yes, Board Member Carlson and members of the board, let me introduce Mike Libator from the Urban Reworks team, who can give you the financial analysis.
Hi, good morning. I understand this is really difficult to compare. I used to work for Rhode Island Housing. I live here now in Pinellas County. I've sat on the inside and tried to review these applications. The project in front of you today is 20 units. Sometimes these projects get compared to larger projects. Larger projects are applicable for more subsidy, right? It's my job and every underwriter's job and any development team to try to figure out how we get this project funded. And we look at all the sources that are available to the project. And in this, for Urban Reworks project, 20 units today, it doesn't qualify for what we call low-income housing tax credits, which are a much larger project. Typically, you have to be more than 50, probably more than 70 units to achieve tax credits. This is a small infill project. They're more expensive than from a subsidy perspective for a large project. We've backed into the funds that are available between Thad's equity, cash that he's already put up into this project, the land, the construction costs, and we've come to $250,000 per unit. We still are going to request for there's a material tax rebate, some things that are possible.
Do you know what the total gap analysis is over 50 years?
I mean,
like the present value of it, not the.
If we look at the market rents today, if we built this as purely market, and we compare that to the restricted rents and that delta, okay, that gap, that in the first year, it's $180,000, the first year. Now, we all know rents have increased. They've increased over 30% over the past 5 years. We're projecting 3% annually, 3% annually over 50 years. That gap grows to $20 million over 50 years. It's a $20 million gap.
Is that the present value or a value?
That's a total of the
So including
savings over
inflation?
50 years, right?
Okay, so my point is that if we're comparing $9 million in construction costs versus 20 million in gap, it's a different calculation. So if you argue that the construction is 5 million or 9 million, whatever number you want to pick, and then 2 million or 5 million is a bigger difference. But if the gap, which is the real money that they're going to be expending, the cost of construction is just one input into that. So 20 years over 20 million over 50 years, then 5 million is only 25%. And so that makes the calculation totally different. And if we're going to help, as you said, if we're going to help small businesses and small nonprofits, they're not going to be eligible for maybe state and federal funding. And so the CRA will have to close that gap. And I'll just end by one other thing. If you read Section 163 of CRA law, it specifically talks about affordable housing as one of the line items, one of the key line items that we should be spending money on. So I believe also we're exactly where we are in trying to do this. Another thing I should say is that we know from the experience in the 60s and 70s that large, dense concentrations of poverty are not a good idea. So all the recommendations of social scientists is to spread affordable units throughout a community, have diversity of product, a diversity of geographic location, so that we can build communities with lots of different income levels. So this serves all of that.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you very much, and thank you, gentlemen. Okay, Board Member Clemens.
Yes. Where to start? I think that based on a lot of the public comment and the developer's presentation, I think that I probably go out on a limb and say every board member up here could stipulate that it's a nice project. You know, that it'll be good for the community. You know, it's a nice project. The problem, I think we could all stipulate that. You know, it's good. But I think where the problem is, at what cost? Because unfortunately, you know, we only have X number of dollars for projects in the city of Tampa, X number of dollars for projects in the CRAs. So I think that's where we're all hung up on. You know, if we do this, then what are we missing out on? You know, when trying to weigh apples to apples and oranges to oranges as we look at things. I'm gonna just random thoughts as we talk about these things. One, in 50 years, we're gonna have a 50-year-old building. I think when we try to amortize these costs over a period of 50 years, I mean, pick my lottery numbers for me, because I think that's going to be really, it's really arbitrary to try to really create a science of this for over a 50-year period. Again, 50-year building. Is that building going to be standing in 50 years? I don't think we're building it out of marble. Infill. When I look at infill developments, I would consider infill developments not necessarily on these major streets like a Nebraska or an MLK or a Lake or Columbus. I would look at infill as we have lots of properties in our neighborhoods that are available for development for housing for people that live in those communities. And just to set this conversation, just the 80% AMI for a one-bedroom unit, 80% AMI is, if I get this number right, is it 1565? Did I pull that number up correctly?
It sounds right.
Yeah, so 50, and that's for I think what, a one bedroom. For the two bedrooms, it's almost $1,900, right? Like $1,878. So we're not. I mean, it's really difficult to say that we're building housing for people that live in East Tampa when we're talking about those kind of numbers. And I get that we need housing for everybody, and I get all that. But again, I heard a lot in public comments specifically about what this project should be, and it was I had a little bit of a disconnect from what the project is versus that. The other thing is, I know we had a first. You're not hearing anything new for the first time, because the very first meeting we had, I gave you my concerns about this. I've been upfront and honest about this project from day one. So, table or no table, it's. By the way, and I want to go back to what we talked about when we were first talking about this issue when we did the agenda review. And to the credit of the CRA staff and Ms. Parks, when they presented that table, it was up to, and I think that those words keep. And I fought it at that time, by the way. If anybody remembers this conversation, I didn't like the table. I thought it was disingenuous. I thought it was misleading. But to their credit, it wasn't an absolute. It was never intended to be, you're guaranteed this. I think the CRA staff has clearly explained that maximum in the state is like $80,000 per unit for construction cost, which I think is fairly, honestly, it seems to be very generous, for these projects, for when we start talking about these type of figures. I had a question for staff. So 5 million, 2 million, 3 million, $1 million. Do you have to reprogram money to get this amount, or is it already in a pot designated for this purpose?
So yes, dollars would have
Can
to be.
I speak on that?
Go ahead, Ms. Parks.
Oh,
I
yeah,
yield to you.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry about that, sir.
That's all right.
No, currently, as it stands for the $2 million offer, under the unit creation line item in our budget, we can sustain that $2 million offer for 3 years. It comes up to be like $660 per year. So,
Okay.
yes,
If
to answer your question,
the applicant's wish was granted for a full funding of $5 million for construction costs, would that money have to be reprogrammed? And if so, where would that money come from?
So that money will have to be reprogrammed. You have 2 pots of money, and Mr. McCray can account for it. It's the neighborhood infrastructure line item, and then we have also an East Tampa improvements line item that we use as well for these types of, if we have to move forward with that $5 million ask.
Okay, so, and even, so that we'd have to reprogram that additional $3 million from other things like down payment assistance and those types of programs, am I correct? Or?
No, we wouldn't, no. My 30% for fiscal 2025 is already set. I will have to reprogram out of another pot of money. Nothing within the 30% allocation.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What programs would they have to be reprogrammed from?
So specifically, it would probably be the neighborhood infrastructure line item. You have something on a couple of items on the agenda today where we will be pulling or reprogramming dollars from that funding source, and 9 times out of 10, that's where it would be coming from.
Okay, and if let's say we settled at if it was 80,000, it would be like 1.6. Is that, or if it was 2 million? What would the impact, like we have another agenda item coming on today, could we fund both of these projects without reprogramming money?
No.
Okay. And can you state again, like what funds would have, if we funded both of these programs at, let's say even at the reduced level of 2 million, and then we get to the next item on this agenda, if we were to fund that ask, which is a much bigger project, of course, where would all that money come from? What line items would that money have to come from?
So we would definitely have to reprogram from some of our existing housing programs, specific to down payment assistance, creation and conversion. So and we were going to have these discussions during the budget presentation under the director's report. I will speak specifically to East Tampa. The CAC, during our several budget workshops in May and June, we're trying to get to at least 50% of the budget because we have forecasted that there were going to be a number of requests coming through the CAC to the board. I will tell you that based on some of the commitments that we've had budgetarily in East Tampa, we were able to get it up to 46%. So what you all have seen in the presentation that will be forthcoming is that the 30% that has been designated by the board, but the East Tampa CAC specifically asked that more money be placed for affordable housing initiatives in East Tampa because that has been the priority. So, and I believe that exact amount is 46.1%. Ms. Parks can correct me if I'm wrong. But so we know that we have some projects that will be forthcoming and that are currently in the queue and that will be coming in the next fiscal year, but we were trying to anticipate and get as much money as we can to assist and try to spread that around to as many projects.
Okay, that's it. And again, I just want to say, I like the project. I mean, obviously, you've put a lot of work and a lot of effort into this. I've said this time and time again, my biggest concern I'm real sensitive with these areas, especially like in East Tampa CAC or CRA, is that these are some of the poorest residents in the city of Tampa and some of the poorest taxpayers in the city of Tampa. The taxes, the TIF that's coming from the CRA is coming from some of the poorest homeowners and businesses in the city of Tampa. So when we're taking money from poor people and what we're doing with it, it causes me a big pause. You know, we're not talking about, funding from downtown or Channel Side or some of the areas where we have a lot more opulence and wealth. So I think we have to be really diligent and really cognizant of that fact of who's paying this bill. So I don't want this, I'm really having, when I make this decision, it's not going to be about whether this is a good project or bad project. It's about where that money's coming from, who's paying the taxes on that money, and what good is coming back to the community for, that ROI. And so that's my opinion. I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member. Board Member Hurtak. And I would again ask, please, folks, I'm hearing a lot of murmuring in the audience. Please, no speaking while here, please. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm going to disagree with Board Member Clendenin about your definition of infill, because we're going through a comp plan right now where we're saying absolutely no density increases in these areas that you think are the only places for infill. So I want you to think about that and the density, because there is infill that we need to do along these corridors. These corridors, right now, a lot of them are single story, old strip malls and things like that. And yeah, infill is just a different type of infill. And this, we're talking about low, and quite frankly, the developer initially wanted to do 4 stories, but the Barrio Latino said no. And that's arbitrary. We're the ones that worked with the Barrio Latino. I mean, I believe that we could. Okay, I'm really sorry, but I have a hard time hearing. And if you want to talk, I'm going to ask you to go out into the lobby to chat. Please, I cannot hear both of you all at the same time. So that's what I'm thinking for infill. Infill is a definite issue. And I am completely torn with this project. I know the amount of money we have is not enough to do this and more things, but I do believe in the transformationalness of this particular project on this particular piece of land. And so I think one of my questions I want to ask the developer's representative, or if the developer wants to speak, is what happens if this board only gives you $2 million? Can you still build this project?
Hi, Thad Barraday for Urban Reworks. I appreciate that the ask is a lot of money. $2 million is a lot of money. $5 million is a lot of money. The difference between the $2 million and the $5 million is $5 million gets the project done, and we will deliver 20 affordable housing units that people can lay their heads in at night, and we'll deliver them soon. In approximately 3 to 4 months, we'll commence our 18-month construction process. $2 million to me is also a generous amount, and we'd be grateful to receive it, but it's delay, because that does not complete the capital stack. And then the question is, what do we do? We would seek alternative sources of funding that may exist through the city of Tampa, the county, the state, the feds. I mean, we will continue our effort to deliver affordable housing to this community and to put heads in beds. That's why I'm here. That's what I care about. So whether that happens or not, I really can't. I don't want to make commitments to the community that I don't know that I can fulfill, and I don't know where that subsidy comes from. I've spent 2.5 years on the journey asking City of Tampa leaders, how do we build affordable housing? Who's going to pay for it? What level of subsidy is available? I've done everything that's been asked of me, and here we are, ready to go. This board can approve this project and get it done today. The $2 million to me is delay, and more delay, and I don't know what happens in the context of delay. I do also need to clarify, and we'd like to submit some letters of support for the record, so just before we lose our time, we want to make sure we get those in. But the agreement that we made at the board's request at the last hearing to reduce the subsidy level, not just from 80, because I was originally asked to build 80% AMI. I was told that's the missing middle, and the level that has the least amount of subsidy available is the level that the city needs to focus its funding efforts on. I was told that. I didn't invent that. I've learned through this journey, and We're happy to offer lower AMI subsidy levels that we're not seeking funding for. But if we get less than the full amount of our special projects grant, I think we'd have to revert back to the 80% AMI level, which might be disappointing. And I'd love to get the best residents, the most needy and deserving residents in our housing as quickly as we can, and we'll continue doing our best to do that. But
And that was going to be my next question, so that makes sense. Okay, I'm really curious to hear what the rest of my council members have to say. I'm holding the budget in my hands right now, so I know how little money there is, and this is the conundrum of, if we give this amount of money, this project may not happen, and so I'm uncomfortable with that. I also have issues with number 8 in a different way, and so I don't know.
Okay, thank you, Board Member Hurtak. So now we'll go to the second round. I want to speak before that, obviously. So in terms of my views on this, I support this project. I do it under a lot of different views. Number one is, this is a real corridor game changer that I think we have to support as much as we can, up to the $5 million. That's something we can't lose track of, which is this really radically transforms a corridor that has been tragically ignored here in Tampa, an area that there's been virtually no investment in, the infrastructure, the roads, housing, the people there, and so forth. And this is something that really changes that. We also have, when I say community support, like, this is organic, sincere community support del corazón, from the heart, okay? The folks who spoke here spoke from the heart. They don't have a dime to gain from this, okay? And they spoke from the heart. I think of my good friend Shalette, who does such a wonderful job wearing so many different hats, and what she talked about, again, speaking from the heart, talking about those letters of people who are missing housing, don't have access to affordable and accessible housing, and are thinking of taking their own lives. That's terrible. And you know what? That happens to a lot of people who reach rock bottom. And so, you know, there's a lot of things in life where there's black and white, and it's 100% right or 100% wrong. Then there's the gray. I recognize some of the issues that folks who are pushing back on this, some of the issues asserted are not unreasonable, but I think the overwhelming rationale for this is to strongly support it. I also think about, and I know I'm comparing apples to oranges here, some of the other CRAs and what we've done there with big asks, right? They go to different things. Today, for example, we're going to be dealing with a procedural issue that I'll support for the Museum of Art. I voted against Part 2 of the Museum of Art. When we ended up giving $25 million, we also gave $25 million to the Strat Center. I voted for the entire thing, or strike that, for the entire thing of that, right? In my view, those were projects that stretched to double into a home run. By shrinking this, we're shrinking a home run into a single, and that's not right, and that's not right. And by voting this down and making this project in effect impossible, we're going to be probably killing this project. So what I think we have to explore in the time that we have is, if the votes are not there for the full amount, people talk about 2, people talk about 5. There's a lot of numbers in between there. And see what we can get done to save this project as much as we can. Again, I'm willing to vote yes on this today, but I'm also hearing what council members say. And if we want to get to yes with the greatest amount given, we have to have that discussion in terms of what amount can go forward to still get this project done. Again, I'm a yes on this, 100%. But if the votes aren't there, then let's talk about saving the project, I think. Board Member Carlson, then Board Member Clendenin, and then Councilman Maniscalco, Board Member Maniscalco.
Yeah, a few things. I agree with the community that the lines for the East Tampa CRA should have been drawn the way they are, and maybe somebody can brief us later on why they were drawn that way. I guess conceivably we could go to the County Commission and try to get them moved, but it's not true that poor people are paying for the taxes in Ybor City. What's happening is that part of Ybor City is in the CRA. And for example, Sanchez y Haya, over the life of that project, it's going to generate more than the subsidy. I don't like using that as an analysis, but we're not taking money from people who can barely afford to pay their bills to give to rich people. It's actually the opposite. That Ybor corridor is going to be contributing to the overall good of East Tampa. I think in the long run, it might be beneficial for that to be there. But I think we need to be sensitive to that issue, and the real concern the community has is, what are we doing for the people in the heart of East Tampa? And we have to get more serious about projects there. The problem, as people have said, is that the people with money, the big companies with resources come forward and they propose projects, and then they get approved, but they're not necessarily in the heart of East Tampa, and we need to try to figure out how organizations can work with the community. This is an example of a developer who's not really a developer. He was somebody who volunteered in the community, and then he's come back and trying to solve the problem he identified in volunteering in the community. He's trying to develop this. Mr. McCray, you talked about at 40% affordable housing, which the CAC asked for it. There's about 6.7 million in the next year for
Yes, that's what's being proposed.
But there's also a bank of money that's been building up because the city staff wouldn't let us move projects for it. How much is that? 7 point something?
Ms. Parks, do you have that exact number?
Yes, so currently I'm gonna break down that 7.5 because you're mentioning 7.5, but the rollover would not be 7.5. It will actually come up to 3.5 because as of right now, we are set to encumber in the rehab program, which is one of the most monumental programs right now.
I support the rehab program, I support the pre-tree program, all that. But the point I'm making is that we did not set a criteria in advance. And this is an evolution of the process, and we're board guiding the process. So because we did not set these rules, we put you guys in a difficult situation. But because we did not explain whether it's first in, first out, or we're going to look at it quarterly or twice a year, we're in a situation where if you look at this project individually, we don't have to shuffle the money around. But if you look at this project plus the $9 million project plus whatever else is in the pipeline, then we have to shuffle money around. Isn't that correct? So the problem is that the developer thought we were first in, first out, and instead we're anticipating all these other projects. But if we only approve this project and no other project, we don't, considering the 3.8 million plus the 6.4, we don't have to reallocate money, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so it's not fair to say we're going to reallocate or reduce money for other programs just for this project. We're doing it because of the $9 million project, not this one. One last thing, Mr. Barraday. The staff has suggested that you have access to debt to cover that balance. I don't think the $2 million is a real number. I think it's an arbitrary number. You're essentially saying we're not going to get the lower AMI without $5 million. So if we want to solve the problems in the community, we've got to offer the higher amount. But if to cover that $3 million gap, you had access to debt, can you explain the difference in what debt versus equity means to a project like this?
We do not have access to debt to fund the $3 million deficit. In fact, if we're awarded the $2 million, we don't know if we have access to the construction loan that we've already secured at the $5 million level. So again, it's just delay and uncertainty.
If you could borrow money for the $3 million, could somebody explain the difference between what equity means versus debt?
Board Member Carlson, your time is up. What I'll let you do is answer the question, and then that's it, if that's good.
Sure.
Thank you. Go
Hi,
ahead,
Mike
sir.
Liberatore. Just to clarify, my company's called Synthesis LLC. I'm a partner in this project with Urban Reworks. To answer your question, we size debt. Debt sizing is based on how we can pay it back, right? And so how we pay back this money is based on the affordability restrictions we showed. So we calculate our net income, and we back into that the amount of debt that's available for this project. So right now we're calculating roughly 2.3 million, 2.3 million available for this project. If we increase income, we can increase debt, but it's capped based on the income. And so with these restrictions that are in place, this is where we're at. I can't add more debt because the bank's not going to give us that money if we just ask. They're going to look at our income projection.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, Board Member Clinton, and sir, are you going to be asking questions?
Probably.
Okay, so let's do this. What I'll do is, if you're going to be asking questions, so we don't have to go back and forth, I'll just give you 5 minutes. Gross.
Yeah,
right? So let's just do 5 minutes straight through.
I don't think I'm going to take that. So. One, I've learned more about capital stack and financing and in 2 years than I ever thought I'd want to know as an air traffic controller. I'll tell you that much. It's a gut wrenching because obviously you guys have come to the table with something interesting and something transformational for what it is. I think part of the thing, because, you know, Councilman Vieira, you said radically. I think in our very first discussion, when we were talking about the scale, you know, when I look at the scale, especially on these areas, I would love to see an entire block transformed, you know, with commercial retail and services for the neighborhood. That's what I look at radical transformation. And I'll concede what Councilwoman Hurtak said about the infill. I was wrong. It is, because in my mind when I was talking about infill, I was thinking about something else. But you are correct. So I withdraw my concerns about that. Thank you for right-setting my head on that. Still the problem is there's just so much money in the bank account. It is what that is, and I think maybe a little bit of a misleading thing, because maybe we need to get Cedric to clarify that. But I think if they go at the 2 million, we don't have to reprogram. But if we went to 5 million, we'd have to reprogram. I think is what I heard. And I think your question was different.
No, but it's if you think that we have 3.8 million is unallocated from the past plus 6.7 million. The only reason we have to reallocate is because of the $9 million project or any future projects, not this one. That's what Cedric just said.
No, I think she was saying that because that money is being allocated, they're about to allocate that into these other programs, correct? Ms. Parks, if you're still on, or Mr. McCray, can you just clarify that? Because I think we kind of heard two different things. I want to make sure we understand, both of us understand what we're dealing with.
But it's if we only approve this project for $5 million, would we have to reallocate?
And wait a minute. Let's let Board Member Clendenin.
Well, I mean, I think that's good clarification. Yeah, a clarifying remark. So, yeah, Ms. Parks. What is the budget implication? What's the budget implication?
You're asking. The budget implication is that we will have to reprogram from other line items outside of the 30% allocation to fund at the full $5 million.
Okay.
Currently, at the $2 million request, we can fund under the unit creation and conversion line item under the 30% allocation as it stands.
Okay, thank you. Before my time runs out, I have one more question, and I know it's difficult when you get this far into a project, you can't turn the clock back. I almost wish you would have appealed the Barrio Latino decision to us, because I would have liked to have seen higher density at this thing. How many units would that project have been?
29 units.
Okay, and 29 units, would you have been able to do that with a lower subsidy per unit because of the scale? And
it helps. It certainly helps.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you too far down the line to be able to reconsider that?
Not from a construction or design standpoint. I don't know what the process would be with the Barrio Latino Commission and our entitlements, which at this point are secured. If you were to send us back there, I assume we'd have to go through more public hearing and process.
Well, for everybody that's listening that's got a project, when you run into this type of thing, come talk to us about these things, because there is a shared vision, I think, amongst our board members and our council members when we're operating as council, about especially these critical, like the Nebraskas, the Floridas, the Columbuses, what these streets are going to look like in the future. So,
if I could, from recollection, I don't have it in front of me, but I think our subsidy level at the 29 units was more around 200,000 per unit. Right. So it helped, but it might not be.
Still would not have been the case.
As
okay.
What you've heard today is sort of the whatever the correct level is.
Okay.
And one other comment, if I could just throw in a response, we hope to participate with other developers who are in the room and who spoke today in larger scale transformation in the local neighborhood that we're in. You've heard some of them speak, and they own contiguous properties. The CRA owns properties near us. The city of Tampa owns properties near us that, in my opinion, are eligible for new affordable housing construction. We would very much like to participate in that. But this catalyst project is the very first thing that needs to occur in order for those other projects to get done.
Okay, I'll state my position so you know where you're at on your vote count. I'll go ahead with the CAC recommendation, but I wouldn't do above that. And that actually is really, because you know from our previous conversations, that's really pushing the limits of my fiscal conservatism. But I'll side with the neighborhoods on the CAC, but yeah, I won't go beyond that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Guys, we are running up against 11:30. I want to have a vote and be done with this issue by 11:35. And that's a lot of time. Board Member Maniscalco, do you have any questions for staff?
Yes.
Okay, so
possibly for Mr. McCray.
That's fine. So let's do 5 minutes just through so that you're not
Okay.
interrupted. Go ahead.
The question has been asked. If we approve the 5 million, it would trigger reprogramming of other funds, correct?
Correct.
But then Councilmember Carlson made a comment, and maybe I misunderstood it. If we approve the 5 million for this, that doesn't trigger reprogramming unless, what is number 8? What is the ask on number 8?
So the request for item 8 was 9.7 million.
And I don't know if they need the absolute 9.7 million, or we can reduce that and try to balance it out, and I don't know, because we haven't gotten to number 8. But my question is, what is the maximum allowed for 1 and 8 that does not trigger reprogramming of dollars?
So keep in mind, Board, these projects they're done on a refunding basis, and it's over a number of years. So it's not just for FY25 and or FY26 or 27 or 28. It's over a period of time, and it's very similar to some of the agreements that have come before the board for some of the cultural arts institutions downtown. So we can always reprogram to,
Wait, Mr. McCray,
yes, sir.
please, if you're speaking, raise your hand. Okay, please, Ms. Burton, please, no more speaking, please. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yes, so there's a possibility. Ms. Parks has the actual figures in front of her for the remainder of the year. The East Tampa CAC also in the process of their budget reprogrammed some funding, and that's what she's looking at this point in time and sharing with you those line items and what we could put towards affordable housing projects in East Tampa because of the need, and that has been a priority that has been expressed by the community and the members of the CAC over recent years.
Okay, so, and I'll wrap it up with this. I don't want to kill this project. I mean, we talked about, because of the reduction in the AMI and the debt and everything, that's what the banks are going to look at when it comes to debt and financing. What if it goes back up to, and we had this conversation last time, if it goes back up to the 80% or higher, I mean, in order to make it work at $2 million, I don't know. Or is the board and everybody hard set on it has to be 30%, it has to be, I was broken down in the change from last month.
Ms. Parks.
So you're asking, sir, that if it's up to 80% AMI, if he changes the project back to 80% AMI, is it going to change anything? That's what you're asking?
No, I don't know how the rest of the board will feel, because we talked about the reduction in AMI, and the gentleman came back. The gentleman came back with the reconfiguration of his numbers.
I'm sorry, per our chart, 80% is per SHIP standards, and in the Florida Housing Finance HUD income limits, it is considered to be, an income that we support. So that meaning that it's considered to be a lower end income at 80%, even though incomes have increased. So yes, there is a need within the city to create 30 to 50% AMI units. We are, working to do that. But 80% is, what is considered to be most likely working middle at that 80% who also needs housing as well. So this project could, from the beginning of it coming into my office, has always been 80%. And that's what I looked at.
Okay, thank you very much. No more questions, thank you.
Yes, sir. Board Member Hurtak, and again, you have questions, you said, so let's do 5 minutes if you don't mind.
Miss Feely, since you're here, just got a bright idea. We still have quite a bit of money in city council housing.
Abby Feely, let me just provide a little bit of context, and then us saying we have quite a bit of money in city in HPF funds. We only got 10 million in HPF funds, and 5.6 have already gone to RMAP, and $1 million's gone to homeless, and $1 million's gone somewhere. So there is not quite a bit of funds. So
no, I'm talking about the 50 million that this council approved last budget cycle. We used 5 million each for 2 separate projects, one on Florida. And
the 50 million was based on the millage increase. There was not 50 million. I had to come back and ask you to bond on those 5 million.
But what I'm saying
and
is,
if you elect to bond more, that's your option, but that didn't go well on the first two that we brought because the message of council was you don't want to bond. So I don't want to shift to other housing funds, but I want to quickly just show you. In East Tampa, based on your 30% for fiscal year 25, you have 9.7 million that was allocated to affordable housing. And you'll see on this, let me just scoot it up over the closed captioning. You'll see on this, for creation and conversion of new units, you have 1.5 million. The pot that's being asked about today in these projects, while Cedric was informing you, they're multi-year funding, right? So they wouldn't start, they're gonna start a portion in 25, a portion in 26, a portion in 27. They're reimbursable funds, as are all of our funds when we put out, because we don't give you money unless the work's getting done. We don't go back and chase to get the money back. So 1.5 million is what's in creation and conversion just for fiscal year 25. When you're talking about 2 or 5, look at the bucket, and the reallocation is coming, as Ms. Park said, from either the HRRP or wherever. I mean, we're gonna have to talk through this. If you'll remember, in January, we came to you. There had always been this idea of the 30%, but nobody really understood. What was the 30%? How much was that? And then once we take the 30%, how are we breaking it down? So we brought you those parts for each of the CRAs. And these were, so in this case, it was 1.5 in East Tampa. You have almost 2 million in strategic acquisitions. And then, so a lot of the projects you're seeing today are ones that are coming and asking you for an amount that will be spread out over a number of years. The second part to that is that we did provide, because the other part was projects were coming to you, like in Central Park, where they were asking for $700,000 subsidy per unit for an affordable housing. And the board looked at us and said, guys, like, we know 700,000 is not right, but what is right? How do we figure out what those numbers are? And the matrix was put together, and I remember that presentation in January, as guidelines to give you an idea of what's being done in other parts of the state, what's being done pursuant to SHIP funding and other funds that we tend to mirror a lot of our own programs after. So I just want to provide some context, because while we're talking about, oh, we'll just move it from here to here, you only start with a bucket of 9.7 million. That's the 30% in East Tampa today. A lot of that money is going to HRRP to help homeowners keep their homes, roofs and other replacements. A lot of it is going to down payment assistance. I believe you've already helped 40 homeowners buy homes in East Tampa under this fiscal year.
This is my time,
I'm
and
so
this
sorry.
was not my question.
Okay.
So
Please don't please give her back her time.
No, it's fine, and I appreciate it, and I completely agree with you, and it's one of those things that absolutely, we don't want to take away from any of the what we're already doing. My basic question was, is there a way that we as city council can find the bridge funding for this? And only because this is such a particularly important piece of Nebraska Avenue. I think that in the balance of, yes, do what the CAC is saying because of the limited funds we have, can we do the 2 million from the East Tampa CRA, and then is there somewhere else we can find? See, when it comes to bonding, like a random project is one thing, but I'm not looking at this part of Nebraska Avenue. I mean, you and I have sat down with the directors of many departments. We've sat down with community leaders to say, what can we do on Nebraska Avenue? If this is a catalyst project for Nebraska Avenue, where can we find the other 3 million? Can we do that? I personally am willing to bond for that. I'm not willing to bond for a ton of things, but a catalyst project that doesn't take away from what East Tampa CRA is saying. We don't want any more than 2 million, and I don't want this to be I think that was the issue with the 10 million for me, was these were sort of random projects.
Well, we put out RFAs.
Yes.
I mean, they're not.
Let me
I know.
wait, please.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm trying to run a meeting, so there you go. Okay, guys, so everyone's spoken, most folks have gone twice and so forth. Let's have a motion. Does anybody wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to support the $5 million in funding.
Go ahead, man.
I'll second with an amendment to support $2 million with an additional conversation from city council to find the other 3.
That's fine.
That is up to 2 motion.
Now, wait, you were doing a substitute?
I'm doing a substitute.
Okay. So your motion, Board Member Hurtak, is for us to do 2 million and then have a conversation with City Council on the
Point of
remaining
order
3.
on that, because
Oh, yes, sir.
because we're acting as a CRA board,
Okay,
not
fair.
council, we can't encumber city council in this.
I understand that, but okay. So I guess I withdraw my second.
I mean, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I mean, I think people can make a motion with the intent to have this discussion at City Council. While we can't officially put on our City Council hats, we can say it is our unofficial intent to do that.
I just want, Mr. Chair, I just want to ensure that, because again, this is as far as when folks are listening of, what's going to happen, understand that we can make motions and do business as a board for CRA board. We can't do things as a council today. So, I mean, whether we have that discussion or not would be a second, would be a different discussion. And of course,
Absolutely.
I think we're all, I don't think there's anybody here that is reluctant to have conversations on council.
So we have is that motion still going forward?
I'll withdraw my motion.
So
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair.
And
I don't know.
we still have, and wait, let's, guys, please, let me do this. We have a motion by Board Member Carlson. I'm going to move my gavel over and second it. There you go.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to
Board-
amend, I'd like to make a motion to amend the motion to lower the subsidy amount to $2 million.
That would have to be, I'm not a lawyer, but that would have to be a separate.
No,
It's a motion to amend. Is there even a second for that?
To reduce it from 5 to 2?
I'll second that, because all we have is 9.7 million, if I remember looking at the chart.
Okay. So
Now it's the second, we take a motion on the amendment.
okay.
And then it goes to the first amendment,
Is
the
that-
first motion.
Oh my God.
Do we have
Okay.
discussion also?
Yeah, I do think there is 1 minute for any discussion. 1 minute, solid.
Now I guess I'm chair since it's a different.
No, I
Are you still?
no, yeah, actually, yeah, I think,
'cause that might
yeah,
make it
yes, sir. Oh,
overrated.
good, thank you.
Oh, I know. You see why I didn't want it. You see why I didn't want it.
Hammer got heavy, huh?
Okay, so guys, as then Board Member Chairwoman Hurtak said, 1 minute per, because folks, we're on item number 1. We're on item number 1. So let's go. Go ahead.
I don't think we have a shortfall of $3 million. When I asked the question very specifically, they said, no, we don't. If we only approve this project, we don't have to reallocate money. When Board Member Clendenin asked it a different way, it's a difference between 30% or 40% of housing, and it's also whether you include the 7.5 or 3.8 million from the money. But if we take just the 3.8 plus the additional 1.2 from this year's 40%, we've got plenty of money left over. The problem is that they've got a pipeline of other projects they want to fund. This is not the project that's causing the problems, it's the projects they anticipate.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anyone else wish to comment? Was it Board Member Miranda?
Let me say, I don't know how this vote's gonna go. This is a wonderful project. That area that you're at now that's called disadvantage used to be an upper middle class. With the Valdez's, and you had all the kind of buildings you had there. You had the Garden Theater, you had the Barcelona restaurant, you had down the street, the Lastras had a market, everything else. So it was not an abandoned neighborhood. But what happened through time, they died off, and everybody wanted to move. The kids inherited or whatever, and they left, and it started going down. That's why we have your project's a wonderful project. But when you look at 9,750,000, whatever it was, minus 5 million, you're caught. I mean, it's not your project, we're caught, and we don't know how to get out, and that's how it is. That's why I'm trying to work something out. The chairman's trying to work something out.
Yes, sir. Go, sir.
And I'm happy to support the 2 million. However, I want to have a further discussion at City Council. This is not the time to talk about it, but whether tonight or at next Thursday's meeting, I'm happy to make a motion where we look at general fund funding for the remaining 3. Thank you.
Board Member Hurtak.
I agree with you, but I don't think we're gonna find it in the general fund. We have a very tight budget, but I mean, would you be interested in
You,
bonding?
you said the word bonding, so if it makes sense, because what we're bonding here is housing, and it could be permanent, because 50 years is almost multi-generational. It's something that I'd be willing to take the risk for. I know bonding is interest, bonding is financing, but I'm happy to bond it to find that money.
Yeah, because I think it's such a small amount that this is a discussion we should be having with bonding. But I'm also not opposed to funding it at 5 million and finding bonding if we wanted to talk about it for future projects. I just believe so strongly in this particular project because of the area.
So, okay, any other comments? Okay, Board Member Miranda, 1 minute. And your microphone's off. Okay, there you go. So, the motion was for the 2 million, correct? Okay, so I support the full 5 or building a bridge. I don't know why we're not talking about between 2 and 5. Okay, and yes, sir, go ahead.
So for the Roberts rules, so what we did is we have a motion to amend the initial motion. So we need a vote on lowering it to 2 million, and whether that vote fails or passes, then you'd move to, the 2 million could fail, and then it would revert back to the 5.
Okay.
So you need a vote on the 2 million.
Let's have a vote on the 2 million. Roll call, please.
Carlson.
No.
Hurtek.
I'll do the 2 million if the 5 million doesn't pass. Like, that's.
But we're only voting, can you explain the vote? We're only
Yeah,
voting
so
to amend right now.
we're doing
Oh,
right
voting
now with
to
a motion
amend?
to amend.
Yeah.
If this fails, then we go to the 5. You
Okay.
can give that a shot, and then we can go
Okay,
to
so
this.
yeah, I'm gonna vote on no.
Clendenin.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Viera.
No. So now we go back to the 5, which, now you're chairwoman, since I seconded Board Member Carlson's
Okay.
motion, so let's call it.
Anyone wanna speak, 30 seconds, anyone?
Be the same vote.
Okay, roll call, please. Then this is for 5 million.
Hurtek.
Yes.
Clendenin.
No.
Maniscalco.
No.
Miranda.
No.
Carlson.
3-3.
Viera.
Yes.
Okay, can I try?
Yes, ma'am. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so then, this will be my compromise motion, is to fund it with 2 million with the addition of going back with our city council hats on and finding the extra 3 necessary to make this project.
Same point of order. I don't think we could do that as a CRA board. I think
No, I said sending a
I-
recommendation.
send a
to-
recommendation.
Yeah, a recommendation that city council discuss finding the additional $3 million.
And do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so, question on that, which is, I have a question. I mean, maybe I'm gonna look like an idiot here, but why can't we go higher than 2? Or is it either 2 or 5? All right.
So, can I answer the reason
Yes,
I
ma'am,
did it?
please.
And then the reason I did it is because that is what the CAC recommended. And and the community has come out saying, A, they support the project, but B, they really want us to only spend 2 million because they have other housing priorities.
Sure, but
And I respect that.
The CAC recommended it based on incomplete information and not a full analysis. They were never presented the gap analysis. They were only
Okay.
presented the staff recommendation based on construction costs.
But would you be willing to do 2 million and find 3 million to talk about it?
I don't think there is 3 million. I'm not in favor of bonding. The mayor
Okay.
has bonded the city out to the max. There's no way we can
So,
bond additional.
so we have a motion by board, and I'll get to you, sir. A motion by board council, or member Hurtak, seconded by who was that? By Board Member Maniscalco. Go for it, sir.
I just want to remind the board that the $2 million is extremely generous. I believe Ms. Parks and Mr. McCray has advised us that the maximum subsidy per unit in the state of Florida has been $80,000, and that would be 1.6. So we're already in brand new territory by going to $2 million. There's never been another project that's been subsidized at this level.
And previously, they recommended a chart that has much higher numbers based on benchmarking. So that's why we need to.
Just remind you, I objected to that.
So
was presented.
this is what I'm going to do on this. I'm going to make a motion after this potentially fails to try to find a compromise of going forward, but let's go ahead and vote on this.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes, sir.
So, but, I mean, if we pass 2 million and then you make a motion for 4, we can still vote on that to supersede it, right?
Yeah, well, let's just vote, guys, wait. Let's just vote on this and have at it. Roll call, please. Wait, roll call.
Clendenin.
Yes.
Maniscalco. Yes. Miranda.
$2 million if I may, guys, if I may, $2 million with a recommendation of $3 million from city council. Yeah. Guys, wait, please. You guys wanted me to be chair. Please follow rules, okay? No, I didn't, really.
Point of
Would you like me to
point of
restate?
information, please.
So wait, restate it.
Okay, my motion is $2 million from the East Tampa CAC with a recommendation to city council to discuss bonding for the 3 extra million.
Okay.
I missed the recommendation of the amount.
Let's
I
restart on
apologize.
this.
We'll restart.
Okay.
Clendenin.
No, wait, let's roll call, please.
Then,
Clendenin.
no.
Maniscalco. Yes. Miranda. No. Carlson.
Because it says bonding, I have to say no. I'm in favor of the 2 million, but I can't vote for it if it says bonding, so no.
Hurtak. Yes. Vera.
No.
Motion passes with Maniscalco and Hurtak voting yes.
Okay, we have board chair that wants to make a motion.
I mean, it passed.
No, it didn't. It failed.
No, it failed. You need
4
to
to 2.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. So I'm gonna do this.
Can I make another motion?
I'm making
No,
one really fast.
yeah.
So my motion is gonna be $3.5 million, and everyone in the crowd, please cease speaking. Thank you. $3.5 million, the same context as Board Member Hurtak said, with a recommendation or request for City Council to find the remaining dollars.
I'll second it, and I want to say something about that.
I want to say something.
Okay, board member Maniscalco.
Yes, ma'am. So $3.5 million, we would have to find $1.5 million by recommendation to the city council. Councilman Miranda mentioned when you bond and how much you lose of your
Depends
capital
on
and
how
what you
much money
pay in
it is for how long.
interest, and we don't know the interest rates, but we would be financing a lot less, and we would be saving quite a bit in interest, because it would be not a 1-year loan, it would be much longer than that. I would be supportive of the $3.5 million, because what we're gonna save and pay in interest and all that down the road, it's gonna come out of the taxpayers. I would be supportive of the $3.5 million.
I saw board member Miranda's light next.
I'm almost sick with my $2 million. What Councilmember Clendenin said about the average 1.8 million, and now this is 2 million, which is above the new level. And I'm not an expert on financing. I'm not qualified to make these statements. But when you look at the pro rata from the past, it's equal to the sums of what he's talking about.
Okay. Board member Carlson, or I'm sorry, I did not see whose light was first. So
Let him go first.
Okay. Board member Clendenin.
I'm uncomfortable with how this is going down, because it's like horse trading without substantive facts and figures, and it's I think Councilman Carlson, I felt like a bingo. I say it was more like an auction, and I'm just uncomfortable with that. I hate to keep playing these motion games, but I'm going to make a motion because I think this should be clean. I think we should make. I want to make a motion to amend the motion to $2 million. With with this board recommending the city council have this discussion.
We already had that.
No, we had it with a finite with a goal in mind. I think that we should pass an up and down resolution for $2 million committed from the CRA based on CAC and staff's recommendations. That's factual figures that we can justify a decision on, because they've done the research.
Is there a second?
Okay, let me finish talking.
Okay.
So that is something factual.
Okay.
We can make a recommendation to the city council to have further discussions on this issue, and then we can move past this.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a second. So the current motion on the floor.
Now, you're like, please. So we have a motion by Board Member Clendenin, seconded by Board Member Miranda. Roll call.
Maniscalco.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Miranda.
Yes.
Carlson.
Carlson, no.
Hurtak.
No.
Clendenin.
Yes.
Viera.
No.
Okay, so we're going back to the 4
Now I
million.
go 3.5.
3.5
Yeah.
with finding, another 1.5.
Board
Could
Member
I-
Hurtak, may I? Just
Yes.
a moment. Okay. During this discussion, I've been trying to get with the housing folks and see what we have. There may be some housing funds there. I know that may or may not play into the CRA board's decision, but, and I did just talk to Mr. Singer, and I know you're at a pivotal point in this discussion, but if we could get a 30-day continuance, and I'm meeting with housing this afternoon. I can't tell you on the fly, and I would not feel comfortable saying to you, I have 1 million of this, I just can't. But
Fair.
you asked about the funds, there are some funds there. If we could work together over the next 30 days to see where we could land on this, to try to come back in a different format. If that is something that the board would entertain. If not, I appreciate your
Then I would
acknowledging me.
withdraw my second. Respectfully, no offense, because
Now
if
I'm
there's
back.
further
second
information,
it.
I don't want to, I
Okay,
want to
so
make the
now it's
best.
back.
Okay, but I appreciate the non-seconding. We now still have a second. So, just because, and I think that's excellent information, if Board Chair Vieira could please restate his motion.
Yes, ma'am. So what I'm going to do is this, in light of what Ms. Feely said, my motion is going to be as follows, which is that we vote to do $3.5 million contingent on the city being able to finance the other $1.5 million. So that is a contingent motion expressing our intent to give the applicant some peace of mind going
I would like to
forward.
second it if you take the word contingent out. Can I just make, in conversation with the applicant, they've been in this process for more than a year,
Yeah.
and 30 days or 60 days could kill the project. Let's approve the 3.5 and then let the city look for the other million.
That's what
We
he
can
was
find it.
saying.
No, but you're saying
You
contingent.
know what, you're right, because we can find it.
Because
We can find it.
I mean, it's
That's
easier
my
for them to
motion.
find 1.5 million than it is to find 3. If, I'm afraid if we pass 2, it's gonna just kill the project. And so the closer we get to 5 million, the better.
So that's my motion, flat 3.5.
Okay, so we have I believe that you, Councilman Carlson.
You can let Guido
Okay,
take it.
okay. So we have Board Chair Vieira made a motion for 3.5 million with 1.5 million to talk to city staff and see what we can do about 1.5 million. It was seconded by Board Member Maniscalco. Does anyone have anything else to say? Okay, and I'm going to 30 seconds.
I just want to have
Okay.
you, Feely, to come back, please. The numbers that we're talking about, whatever you go look for the money, those monies come on from the feds. Are they already appropriated?
They are not. That's what I'm
Right,
trying.
but they're
I
in
was-
need, aren't they?
I'm sorry?
What was the numbers last year compared to this year for what we're getting from the feds on the HOPA funds and so forth? and so
Oh,
on?
Councilman, I don't have
Yeah, I
those
understand that,
numbers
but
off the
you-
top of
you
my
gotta
head. I
take
know
into
that there's
consideration
some,
Those funds are usually already programmed to give away to the people that needy, the most neediest in the community.
well, let me provide this perspective. There's nothing that would stop this applicant
I
right now
understand that.
from going to housing and asking for those funds outside of
understand
this
that.
vote as well. So if you want to make your vote not contingent, there's nothing to stop them from still coming to housing and trying to fill that remaining gap. That's one approach. The other is, I think, I'm aware there are some home funds, which is a federal program, right? And those are for construction. There are some home funds that are currently unencumbered, and there are some HPF funds that are currently unencumbered. I can't say, though, if those weren't on the horizon for another project coming out of the pipe, but based on the discussion today, I'm willing to go to staff and look and provide that information
understand.
back
Thank
to
you for
you.
doing that.
I think it would be helpful also to show you the East Tampa CRA, the housing line items, and the future couple years, so you can see where these projects are in the multi-year funding cycle.
Okay, Board Member Clendenin.
I would strongly urge this council to take the win, and I think what was presented is a win, that if we move forward with the 2 million, the commitment from city staff to work with the applicant to find this $3 million through these other funds, it's a win for the community, it's a win for the CAC, it's a win for East Tampa, it's a win for this board. I think this is, I mean, honestly, they just served it on a silver platter, and I don't know why we don't take it immediately. So I would urge us to go with the $2 million with that commitment to come back in 30 days to revisit the rest of that money, or revisit it on the council.
Okay.
The problem,
I mean, I stand by my motion.
Okay.
Let's.
So I'm
no,
sorry.
just to say something else, all the points I brought up in this memo, and I brought up at the beginning.
Yeah,
We have an arbitrary process, we don't have a standard process. We're gonna be discussing a $9.7 million project in a little while, and so I hope we provide the same level of scrutiny, but the problem is that the information that was given is not a consistent, accurate analysis of this. The construction method is not the standard, and the benchmarking we've had different information on what the standard is, and what the developer is telling us, if we don't go with the higher number, the project essentially is dead, or they're not going to include the lower AMI. The community wants a lower AMI, and so we need to go forward.
Okay, and I appreciate that, and I agree, and Board Member Carlson, I'm really glad you brought up this memo, because I completely agree with you. We have got to do this, and unfortunately, this is what we found. This is what's happened today. So we have a current motion on the floor. Can you please restate it?
Yes, ma'am. If I recall, because I've made quite a few, it's $3.5 million to come from the CRA within our intent to inquire with the city of Tampa, wearing our city council hat and working with staff for the remaining $1.5 million as a compromise.
Okay, so we have a $3.5 million and a second, and my only question, and this is going to be, I don't see any other, did you have a question?
No, I'm
Okay,
just.
I have one question for Mr. McCray.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a one-time payment, or will this be over years?
No, it will be split up over 3 years.
Okay, over 3 years.
Yes.
Thank you. That's the other thing I needed to know. So $3.5 million over 3 years is a little over $1 million. Yeah, $1.1 million and change each year for 3 years. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. Roll call vote.
Miranda? No. Carlson?
Yes.
Clendenin?
No.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Hurtak?
Yes.
Viera?
Yes.
Motion passes with Miranda and Clendenin voting no.
Okay, thank you, Madam. Okay, council, or CRA, whatever we are today, thank you very much. Thank you to staff for this long and winding road. Okay, guys, we are at 11:49, and we have. Let's inquire on this, Mr. McCray. How long do you think your director's report is going to be, notwithstanding council discussion?
So we do have the budget presentation. If I could make a recommendation, you all have the project tracker and the grants tracker as customarily in your agenda. We do have a presentation by one of our summer youth interns related to the process and program that he's been working on to build some of the housing items into the GIS system for the city that is forward facing. If we could allow him to go forward with that presentation, and then if it's the board's pleasure, we can take a recess for lunch and then come back with the budget
I have no
presentation.
problem. So if I may really quick, let's see if we can get in Mr. Robinson and then back.
And actually, Mr. Robinson actually had to leave for another meeting, so he and I had a discussion.
Okay.
We will bring him back for the August meeting.
Can I approve items 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16?
Do we have a motion? We have a second motion by Board Member Hurtak, seconded by Board Member Maniscalco. Roll call, please.
Ask a clarifying
yes, sir.
question. That does not include the walk-on, right? Is the
No, it
walk-on-
doesn't include the walk-on.
Okay, so fine, okay, thank you.
Roll call, please. And for summary, this is for, I guess you're right. So this is for 7, 9 to 16, excluding the, yes, yeah. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. For the walk-on, can we go ahead and do that now, or is there a big presentation?
Yes, I believe they are here.
Okay, let's
yes.
do it really fast. I have no problem with that. Yeah. And I see our friends from the Museum of Art, and I know you have to.
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, my firm works with an entity that is related to the museum, and therefore I'm going to recuse myself. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, our friends from the Museum of Art, if you want to come forward, and I'll last how long you need. And sir, good to see you. Sir, roughly how long do you need?
Thank you. Yeah, we've just asked for an early start date for the construction process on the dog park. It falls a little bit different than the agreed upon time frame. And it's very brief. We'd like to get started sooner than later. That's pretty much where we are with the project that has been approved by
Board Member Hurtak.
CRA.
So you're gonna start the dog park early?
Yes.
Okay, well, I mean, I moved that resolution. Okay.
We have a motion by Board Member Hurtak, seconded by Board Member Maniscalco. So I had voted for the first round against the second round. Respectfully, y'all do wonderful work. I'll obviously be voting for this. This is a courtesy. There's no need for that. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your brevity. Okay, Mr. McCray, if you want to bring our friend up.
Yes, we do have two interns, and I would want to introduce both of them. The gentleman that will be doing the presentation is Mr. DeQuah Hall. He's been with the summer youth program. I thought it was 2 summers, but it's actually 3. He's a recent graduate of Brooks DeBartolo Collegiate High School, and will be matriculating to Kent State University this fall. And so this is somewhat, what he's been working on is somewhat of his capstone for the summer. And then I also want to introduce Ms. Lauren Green. She is a graduate student at the University of Florida, and I'll just bring them up so they can introduce themselves, and then Mr. Hall will roll into his presentation.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lauren Green. I'm interning with the CRA team this summer. I'm from Tampa. I've lived here for 17 years, and I'm currently about to be a second-year graduate student at the University of Florida, where I'm, yep, go Gators, where I'm pursuing a master's in professional communication and a specialization in public relations, and I have a bachelor's in journalism from High Point University, where I graduated 2 years ago. Thank you.
And where are you from originally, ma'am?
Miami.
Miami, okay,
Yes,
the
sir.
305, there you go. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Sir, go ahead.
All right. Hello, good morning, CRA Board. My name is DeQuah Hall. I am a recent graduate of Brooks Bartlett Collegiate High School and will be attending Kent State for construction management in Ohio this fall. This is my 3rd and final year with the Summer Youth Program under the guidance of Ms. Castillo and Mr. Huntley. This summer was different from my past experience because I was assigned a personal work project, the Tampa CRA Housing Initiative Editor application, or GIS mapping. The CRA Initiative Editor is a digital representation of the work done by the Tampa CRA to help community clients with either down payment assistance, emergency roofing, housing rehab, or tree trimming. This is how the initiative application works. We reviewed the client's names and addresses on either an Excel spreadsheet or the project file folders. We will search up the address on the GIS mapping. I don't know if it pops up right here. Yes, it does. For the sake of this, I'm just going to click on a point of random.
Take your time, man.
Yes, sir.
And by the way, how long do you think you need? Just so what we know, you're good for whatever.
I think this 4-minute timer
Okay,
should do
just
it.
making sure. Thank you, sir.
You could then go to, it has different settings up here, edit, base maps, layers, and bookmarks. The layers is basically like a filter setting. You would want to filter to the community redevelopment areas. At this point, you could either create or edit a data point. To create, you just want to click on this edit button, pull this down, and create a data point. Just drag the data point to the desired location. To edit a data point, you just want to click on the edit feature and just type in the relevant information. Once you pull these bars down, several fields will pop up, including fiscal year, the CRA initiative, neighborhoods, the council districts, and the project details. I would then utilize the Hillsborough County Property Appraiser website to look for the square footage, the total parcel dimension, and for the client's project address. With all of this, I learned how to operate the Hillsborough County Home Appraiser website and how it can effectively find a parcel. I also learned the different programs the Tampa CRA has and how these programs work to better our community. Lastly, I became familiar with the different housing counseling agencies the Tampa CRA collaborates with for down payment assistance. With all that experience this summer, it has been a memorable summer. I have had the opportunity to work with a new team in a new environment, doing work that initially seemed unfamiliar to me. Without the consistent guidance of Ms. Vanessa Ross, Mr. McCray, Ms. B, and Ms. Rahel, I wouldn't have got this done. I just want to thank them and thank you all for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Board Member Hurtak.
I just wanted to say that was an excellent presentation. I was told about this map by Mr. McCray yesterday, and it's absolutely wonderful. What a wonderful resource. So I just want to say congratulations, and it always feels good to finish a project. So best luck at while you start your collegiate career. And you said you're going to be majoring in building services?
Construction management.
Construction management, and I hope you're going to come back and help build more housing.
That is the plan.
Great.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. Board Member Carlson.
Yeah, just quickly, as you're going through college, if there's anything we can do to help, any advice or contacts as you're looking to get a job, we want you to come back, obviously, because you're super smart and motivated. So anything we can do to make your career go smoothly in the future, let us know, please.
Thank you for that.
Anybody else? And where are you from originally? Your family?
Tampa, Florida.
Cool.
Born and
Where in
raised.
Tampa?
North Tampa, Crossbush area.
Okay, yeah, I'm a Temple Terrace kid, so there you go. Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for your presentation. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Great. Mr. McCray, go,
And
sir.
before Mr. Hall steps away, I don't know if you can you zoom out just a little bit? So we made it a priority as the agency to, this is the first layer, and as he's working with Ms. Ross to build out all of the different recipients and locations in the CRA, but I want to highlight the dots that are primarily in East Tampa. So, I mean, that's, as he shared, those layers of tree trimming, down payment assistance, any other grant programs that we've had. We've started with the housing component first, and with Ms. Parks, but we also will be combining that and creating another layer for our commercial grants as well as a special project. So that will be across all the CRAs.
Right. Thank you, sir. Any Board Member Miranda?
Work he's done for the CRA and the way you're pinpointing it, so you can get faster access to a lot of things. And Kent State you're going to?
Yes, sir.
Ohio is a very nice school.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Okay, yep, give a round of applause. So before we break for lunch, I wanted to bring in my interim legislative assistant, Darsh. Darsh, go on up there if you don't mind. Today will be Darsh's last day live with us here in Tampa City Council, and I just wanted to, just bring them up here and just allow just number one, to express my appreciation. You've done a wonderful job. You're such a thoughtful young person. You go to USF and you have such a bright future ahead of you. You're so bright and intelligent and thoughtful and kind and empathetic and compassionate. And you do a really great job. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, Darsh.
Thank you. I really appreciate you.
No, yeah, you're cool. Yeah, thank you. So, and this is kind of weird, but I am weird. But I wanted, so I asked you who your favorite, yeah, I know, right? Unanimous. Yeah, I asked you who your favorite president was, and you told me Lyndon Johnson, and I like Lyndon Johnson a lot, so I'm going to give you this, which is a really cool, this is really cool. This is President Lyndon Johnson signing into law Medicare and Medicaid at Independence, Missouri, with Harry Truman, Bev Truman, and Hubert Humphrey. And if you're the kind of person politically who likes government to hug you so hard that you choke just a little bit with compassion, that's a great picture for you. So that's all. We just wanted to say thank you very much, Darsh. You're wonderful.
Thank you.
Every morning I come by and chat with her a little bit when I've had a little cup of coffee. She's very cordial and very intelligent. Every time I saw her, she was working.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. My goodness, you've got to be one of the hardest working interns I've seen. I don't know what you did to get her, but she really worked hard. And you've been a pleasure to have back there. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for all your hard work. And just as I said, the other person, anything we can do in the future to help you, happy to give you advice, contacts, whatever we can do.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead, sir.
And it's great to have met you. Again, I would pass in the hallway and we would chat sometimes, and you're always very nice. So and it's true. You were always working, always doing something. So
Diligent.
we appreciate it very much.
And I want to echo that as well. We've had some great conversations. We actually rode the bus home together on our
my first day.
Yep. And so which was a lot of fun, and we had a really good conversations. And I wanted to make sure to remind you when it can to have Kelly connect you with the sustainability department. I don't know if you know this, but would you like to? Can you speak just briefly on your work in community or community market space and what you're working on there? Because, I mean, I don't know how you have the time for all of it, but it is amazing. If you'd be willing to share just a brief about what you're doing to bring food to people who struggle to receive and afford it.
Yeah, absolutely. It all started when I joined the Agrarian Club on campus at USF. And then from then on there, we started the Food Sovereign Farmers Market. And we just wanted to take the idea of a farmers market, but hold it with the mission of just like, you know, talking deeply about like food citizenship and like talking like more about how can we provide food that doesn't commodify it and also like brings out the story behind it and also like makes people involved in that whole process feel appreciated. And it's just, there's that we're doing, which is going incredible. And it's just like, I had my dream market this past season. It was just incredible with my team and everybody who was just supporting me in the community as well. And then we're also trying to start a seed library on campus as well. And just like the enthusiasm that I've received to do some of these projects has just been incredible. I cannot do it without them. So I'm just like very thankful.
Thank you so much.
So as you all see, Darsh is a bleeding heart, and where I come from, that's awesome. Anyone else? Okay, great.
Mr. Chair, I think we need a little bit of a cleanup. So for item number 2.
And if I may, thank you, Darsh.
Item number 2, I'll make a motion to continue that to August 21st per the directors.
Yes, sir. Well done. Motion by Board Member Clendon, second by Board Member Hurtak. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we return. Yes, sir, please. Yes, by all means. We have a motion by Board Member Carlson, seconded by Board Member Clendenin. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so if I'm correct, we come back only for 8. That's right.
Nope, we have the budget, number
Excuse
under
me.
3.
Excuse me, yes, I'm sorry. So y'all good with 1:30?
That's fine.
I'll be a little late, I gotta do something.
Yes, sir, you're fine.
Yeah, I have a couple of meetings that I'm have to be in and out for, but I'll do my best.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Oh, Darsh, yeah, of course.
Absolutely. And if you would like a photo as well, we might as well. If we're doing. Oh, perfect.